Welcome, Bastronauts. This is Teal's Bass Galaxy, an endless dimension of fishing legends and degenerates connecting through raw, real, in-person conversations and stories. No, this is not your average fishing podcast. There's no rules. There's no limits. 3, 2, 1, blast off. This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. Teal's Bass Galaxy is now offering intergalactic merchandise. That's right, we got apparel now, baby. Check out our website. We got a variety of apparel, hats, bucket hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, all the finest goods. So stop on our website, tealsbassgalaxy.com, click on the apparel tab, and start looking good, baby. Attention all Bastronauts. This podcast is supported by the Bass Galaxy's title sponsor, Waypoint Angler Supply, the Midwest's new landing pad for hardcore anglers just like you and me. If you're looking for the sneaky goods you can't find anywhere else, look no further. Waypoint Angler Supply has the largest offering of JDM tackle in the Midwest, and they are right here in Minnesota on Lake Minnetonka. This is truly a place every bass fisherman in Minnesota needs to visit because we finally have a tackle shop in the state that's as dreamy as the ones you find down south. And the staff at Waypoint Angler Supply understands the various needs of us anglers, which is why you'll find the selection there so enticing. Ross and the folks at Waypoint Angler Supply are passionate about carrying the right stuff, providing an authentic customer experience, and they listen to the anglers. And it doesn't end at JDM baits. They stock all the top U.S. brands, as well as local Minnesota brands like Veselka Fishing and Customs, Arsenal Fishing, Bait Lab Custom Swim Baits, All Terrain Tackle, Bagley Northland, Outcast Tackle, and more. So stop into their store on Lake Minnetonka or visit their website, waypointanglersupply.com. That's waypointanglersupply.com. Use the code GALAXY0124 for the month of March to save 20% on your next order. The Bass Galaxy is also supported by Veselka Fishing and Customs, Supreme Lending, Dream Team, Lake Country Insurance Services, My Wedge Motor Support, Supreme Lure Company, just north of Memphis, Barbecue and Catering. Thank you. Gentlemen, last time we did this, we were at Jack's cabin last spring.
We were, yeah. Mm-hmm. On the beautiful shores of Mille Lacs Lake.
Gorgeous. And then we waxed some smallies the next day.
That was some.
You did. I had to work.
I do remember at one point in the afternoon, Paul Neumann literally cutting me right off just to be funny and have fun.
No, I wanted to catch one.
Just we were going the wrong way. They were up. We had caught Glenn and Jack caught them all, and then Dane and I caught.
If I remember correctly, I went by you at about 100% on the trolling motor and was yelling at you to quit finessing them and just keep moving. Go find the easy ones.
They were easy, about 15 minutes before you got there.
Yeah, I know. I'm always late to the show.
But, no, that was awesome. Thanks so much for making the trip out, you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I have another intergalactic bass in conversation. So it's getting to be springtime. Winter never really came this year.
No.
And it seems like, if you're a bass fisherman, I don't know. I never stopped chomping at the bit, but it seems like people are gearing up, and it's, we got a ways to go.
It's a bit of a tease, honestly. I mean, I hope it isn't, but it's like the weather's beautiful. It's 50 degrees. The ice is dicey, but it's still February 7th or 8th, right? So it's like, hope it's not going to tease us too hard, and then March and April are terrible, and we end up right back where we usually are, but who knows?
It's probably going to come out. beginning of March. So to anybody who's listening to this that has to go shovel after because he predicted the future, I'm sorry.
It's my fault.
I figured, Aaron, I figured you guys would all be down, pre-practicing, scanning Okoboji, this and that. But
Boji Open?
Iowa has winter. We didn't get it. So, yeah, I think they're pretty froze up yet. But I figured you guys would be out breaking ice trying to get down there already.
There's like a safe zone north of Iowa this year.
Apparently.
At least
Fargo had more
snow-wise.
than we did.
Snow. I mean, Northern Iowa got
Yeah, they had
a lot
winter.
of snow.
Yeah, they had winter.
I think you went to Jamaica. How was the snow in Jamaica?
That was in November. There was none. It was great. It was nice and
You
warm.
can't shovel sunshine.
No.
Do you think it's ever snowed in Jamaica?
No.
I don't think so.
No. Probably not.
No.
I think, until the day it snows in Jamaica, I think we're going to be okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's our new gauge.
That's a gauge. That's a good gauge.
That's
yeah.
our new gauge.
Well, I just want to give you guys some thanks. I really think that when you work on the tournament staff, it's an underappreciated and underthanked job. And you guys are the lifeblood of fishing tournaments in Minnesota. Without you guys, Noah Schultz doesn't get to tow a new boat home. This guy doesn't get to hold up a big check. So, you guys probably right now are in prep mode, would be my guess. You're setting up a season.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit that goes into that.
I mean,
Newman throwing that whatever he's throwing down in Florida for them redfish. It's a lot of work prepping for a new
it is.
tournaments.
It really is. It really is. It's a lot of work,
While Glenn's replying to emails like rapid fire.
Yeah.
And Jack's calling the Channel 5 News, and you're just down, what?
I'm just keeping loose.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, working on my tan. So
yeah. But no, I mean, we basically started really October. Once we kind of get dates set and, figure out tentative dates, figure out the lakes, and then it's reaching out to the DNR, reaching out to the county, reaching out to venues. So yeah, it's kind of a full year thing because just with the amount of bass tournaments now, and it is helpful that all the Champions Tour events are during the week. We don't have to fight that battle with other circuits, with lodging and with venues. So I'm very thankful for that because I can't imagine what some of the other tournament circuits have to do to make it work in the summers. Because I mean, what you think of is in Minnesota, tournament season is 4 months,
Right.
roughly. So you take, 50 tournament circuits and cram all those tournaments into 1 or 2 states in 4 months.
Less than 20 weekends.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. And then, that's nice that we don't have to deal with that. So it's, but yeah, we're looking forward to the season and now it's kind of just, everything's set. So now it's
right now it's probably our quietest time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Yep.
we were feverishly preparing.
Well, he mentioned
we're done
weekdays.
with that.
Right.
Yeah. Now it's like, you're sitting waiting for ice guff. Like we're just, kind of hurry up and wait for the season to start for the tournaments. All the hard work I think has really been done. There's a few odds and ends now, but the hard part's done.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the weekdays thing, and I was interviewing Arnold Helgerson recently, and I think he's also a guy who appreciates those weekday tournaments. A little less people, jumping on the play rafts and the,
Yep.
Lifts not going up and down as much, and honestly, just the traffic on the lake, right?
Yeah.
Like St. Croix, we're going to St. Croix River this year,
Yeah.
and from what everybody told me, they're like, "Oh shit,
It's like
we thought
Miami.
Tonka was
Yeah.
bad." They're like, "Man,
yeah,
St.
it's like
Croix."
being out in Miami.
But the fact that we're going to be out there on a weekday, I mean, that's nice. I like the fact that
and
we're out there then because you don't just dealing with just traffic. And
the weekday deal, not only does it make it nice on us and the competitors and so on, but it's also like Jack said, we have 4 weeks for all these tournaments to get in. Well, there's also only 4 weeks for all the
4
family
months.
fun.
Months.
4 months. I'm sorry. Thank you. For all the weekenders and boaters and sandbar people and this and that. And it's, we have plenty of water in Minnesota, but everybody's out there. So it works great for everybody. The venues love having us on weekdays.
Oh, I bet.
So
Yeah,
it works out great for everybody.
Yeah, and
Doesn't take up their dock spots. I mean,
Well, yeah, totally.
It's nice now that we've kind of established that because obviously, that's not the easiest for everyone in terms of talking about the anglers, getting off work and family and all that stuff. But I mean, I think our crew of 65 guys now, they're pretty darn serious bass tournament anglers. So they're, plan their summer around some of this stuff. But now that we've sort of set that as our plan, everyone knows that our tournaments are going to be, Tuesdays or Thursdays, whatever it may be. And people know that, and we've kind of set that standard, and it works great. I think, like I said, it's, again, not the easiest for everyone, but we're full, and, guys have bought into that. And once they're in, to your point, I think as a fisherman, you like that a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind the Tuesday thing. At first I wasn't sure, but was there a reason we went to Tuesdays? No biggie. I don't mind it. Actually, I like it for you can practice, Saturday to Tuesday.
Right.
There's no data to support it. It's not like it was no study. It was I think it kind of came off of the fact that I think Tonka events were always on Tuesdays because Mondays usually were busy and no one wanted to, if a guy on Tonka wanted to pre-fish Thursday, Friday, and then, half day Saturday, half day Sunday, then they could go back out Monday. So we got away from, we didn't do Mondays, so we did Tuesday, and it just seemed like that worked well. A guy could pre-fish, go, like this year, go down to Iowa. You could leave Thursday morning, pre-fish Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then be home Tuesday night. And if he's has a job, he can still put in 3 days of work that week. So putting it on Wednesday or Thursday was kind of out because then that takes away a guy's whole week still.
Yeah.
Or if they want to go fish another event, go on a family vacation, then they have the rest of the week. So Tuesdays just was a nice fit, and a lot of venues are more relaxed on Tuesdays, so we're able to get into some places that, like Gull, for example, trying to go out of Ernie's where we're going out of on Gull on a weekend is
not happening.
Yeah,
they'll actually, no, you cannot come here on a Saturday.
What is the hardest what's the hardest lake and venue to book? Like, obviously you guys have had to, line these up all around the state for years,
typically it's Gull and Whitefish.
Yeah,
just because it's limited access points that have on the water points. Whitefish pretty much is Moonlight Bay. There's a few other places, but just with docking, because being that we do need to have you guys come in at midday, we need dock space or beach space. So that takes away a lot of spots that, if it's a normal tournament where it's 7 to 3 and you pull your boats and weigh your fish, that opens up some opportunities. But since we need spots in the middle of the day, that really makes it tight.
Pokegama seems like it can be a tough place. I don't know about booking, but it seems like you only have like so many access points and then so many places to weigh in.
Yeah. I'd say those two. So and a big change. One change this year on the tour is this year we're shortening that midday break.
I also heard that Neumann is assessing a 2-minute penalty to anybody that says Champs Tour.
Yes.
Within earshot.
Right.
2. I was going to go 15.
So we're shortening midday break.
Yeah. Shortening midday
15
break.
15 for teal.
Yep. So
I'm screwed.
Shortening midday break, bumping up the end time by a half hour as well. So,
so we'll get 4. So how long will the midday break be then?
Half hour. So 11 to 11:30.
Yep.
Are we doing a meeting? Like
the night before?
Is that a half hour I'm going to get to retie? Or
yes.
Is that, okay.
Yes.
And I understand why you're asking meeting. The only times we've really had a meeting at the midday break, if we have something coming like weather or something like that, it might have a little briefing, but otherwise no meeting.
It's not a big deal, but if you got to retie like 6 liters, and then you got like leader line hanging out, Newman's like, hey, meeting, 5 minutes.
Maybe you need to learn some time management.
Totally.
Who
doesn't need
why
to learn
is
that?
this on
Always.
me?
Life's about learning, man.
And I'm just trying
and
to help
I'm not
you.
saying that I'm not open to learning.
Well, you get a half hour.
I'm a fisherman.
Use it wisely.
That's all we do is get humbled and learn.
You get a half hour. Use it wisely.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm grateful for every minute, Paul.
Okay.
I'm grateful for every minute.
And really, Aaron, you should be thanking us that you get a half hour break to retie.
So, okay.
You don't get that otherwise.
I hope that my
Rather
question
than
of clarification
complaining, the break
wasn't
isn't
mistaken
long enough.
for question of complaint, because it was question for clarification, and what I don't want to be is whiny.
It sounded a little whiny.
Fair enough.
A little bit.
Fair enough. I love fishing Champs Tour.
All right.
There's 15.
I love every second of it. No
All
complaints.
right, all right,
No complaints fishing Champs Tour this year,
Good.
Paul.
Good.
What do you think? How have you enjoyed being a tournament director of Champs Tour, Paul?
I threaten to quit every year. Scott doesn't let me. But the fun and interesting people like yourself that I've gotten to meet has been just fabulous. Yes. No, it has its challenges, but I love it. Truly, I may be making a little bit of fun, but no, I do love it.
I feel like it, not to interrupt you, but I feel like it has kind of gotten you back into fishing a little bit.
Well, that's
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
I'm not saying you quit fishing.
It didn't
but
get me back into fishing, but no, I was going to go there, Jack, and it got me back around the tournaments. I mean, I got
right.
two young boys. Well, not young anymore; they're 13 and 16. But baseball and sports, and now they're fishing high school and juniors, and it allows me to go to the tournaments and hang out with all my friends. If that makes sense, I get to fill that need in me to be at the tournaments and compete. And granted, I'm not competing, but I at least get to be there, see it, be a part of it. It kind of fills a little bit of that, call it a void if you want, missing tournament fishing and stuff like that.
Stacy does kind of take all the power and authority in the house too, so it's probably nice to get wield some of that.
We have an agreement in our marriage. It's wonderful. We have an agreement where she occasionally allows me the illusion of control.
Sure.
That's the agreement in our marriage, and it works great. Ultimately, I don't need the power or control. Just occasionally give me a little bit of an illusion that I have it for a moment.
Sure.
And I'm great. Yeah.
It's like you read my Instagram reel today. Control is an illusion. But, okay, so getting back on track a little bit, let's talk a little bit about, the Champions Tour schedule this year, because it's kind of unique. Then I actually kind of want to jump off of that. But just preview the schedule. We're going to 3 different states this year.
First time ever.
First time ever. They're all pretty much border water, so it's not like we're going deep into Iowa, deep into Wisconsin, deep into.
If you're into Iowa, you're in a different state. I don't care if it's 5 feet or 500 miles.
Well, what do we got? 6 Iowinians, 7 Iowinians signed up this year. Is that the right even term? Iowinian? Is that offensive?
Iowesians.
Okay,
that's what I'm going with.
Not ayahuascan.
That works too. I like
I
that.
feel like we need to go to the Amazon and drink some weird shit and puke then. But
but I think there's 7
Really?
Iowas.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep. And they were some of the first to sign up after your returning anglers had that opportunity to sign up that priority entry. They were Johnny on the spot to sign up for the tour with that Okoboji event. So
can't blame them.
No.
Welcome, Ayahuascans. We're looking forward to fishing with you.
Is that we come in peace?
We come in peace. Houston, we don't have a problem.
Yeah, but so kicking off in Iowa on June 11th, and then little bit of a breather per se. We do the Pro-Am on Mille Lacs, which we can go on that and talk about that next.
Yep.
And then
go
up to Gull.
Yep.
Love
on
it.
the 15th of July.
Yep.
And then we go to another new state, Wisconsin, to the city of Hudson. It's that border city right there. Some people call it just an East Metro City.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
on the St. Croix. And that, I think, that event will be very cool.
So we'll be taking off out of Hudson because it's you got Prescott at the bottom of the St. Croix,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
And then Hudson's mid, and then Stillwater's towards the top of
Stillwater's the top
much.
end.
Yep.
You can go Fishable Waters is a little bit north of Stillwater, but essentially Stillwater's your northern boundary. Yeah.
Do we have a cutoff yet?
Yes, we do. There's actually a legal boundary when you get a few miles north of Stillwater. There's actually a legal boundary because of zebra mussels that if you were to launch your boat south of that point, you are not allowed to go north of that point.
Perfect.
So that there is an actual legal boundary. And I think they actually might put a cable across the river with some big orange buoys on it. They take it in and out, I believe. But there is a legal boundary up there.
And
that
those
you can't
screenshots
cross.
of that border are in your email.
Perfect.
And to all Champions Tour anglers, the screenshots are in your emails.
Public service announcement from the Champions Tour staff and the Bass Galaxy. Check your email.
100%.
Thank
Yes.
you. And
Yes.
save.
Thank you.
Do not delete them. Save
Yes.
them. Don't log out of your account. Forget your password.
Yes.
Yes, everything has been sent.
Yes.
Your dog cannot eat your email. Don't forget that.
Right.
But the lake can eat your phone. We've seen that before.
Oh
Plenty of
gosh,
time.
That'd
yeah,
be a fun
yeah.
conversation on the show. Just talk about different bodies of water where people have cell phones in the bottom of them.
Oh gosh, everywhere.
Well, Willie dropped his in Lahamadou at the championship the one year.
Yeah.
I have Noah's secret pattern. Like
I
the
have-
past couple years, just fish
Cell phone.
isolated freaking smartphones.
I know just in my history, I
Flip
have
a jig
one.
at them.
I have one in Lake Erie, I have one in Lake Pepin, and one in Gull Lake. And fortunately, all of them were pre-2005 before the iPhone came out.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
So they actually might cast a shadow.
They are
when the
structured.
sun's
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are
right.
structure now.
You got
Right.
some. Yeah.
You could find them on.
Were they still
side
zipped
imaging.
in that leather?
There's a
in that
smallmouth
leather
that
bag
spawns by
that they
that
came
brick.
Dad, no. Oh, the leather bag with the clear plastic.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the
one of
little
them.
Nokia bag.
Yeah.
With the non-pre-flip.
No,
One of-
even before that, like, don't you remember like the cell phones? Like, my
Oh,
parents,
where they were like
were-
a briefcase.
Yeah, the
Oh,
briefcase. Yeah.
No, I did not have one of those,
Aw.
but I was fishing with a guy on Lake Minnetonka, and he snagged one and reeled it up off the bottom. He's like, he knew he didn't have a fish, but he's in the back of the boat pretending he's got a giant, and I'm like, what do you got? What do you got? And he bends over to the side to grab it, and he had it by the bag, and it had the receiver or the earpiece with the cord, and he goes, "It's for you."
That was Capone's burner phone in '67.
totally, yeah.
Actually,
It
that probably got dumped off the Vikings boat. That probably had
Oh,
Vikings
yeah.
photos on it.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
this was
Or no.
this was first generation bag
Yeah,
phone,
I know
cell
that.
phone. This thing, this thing was
Yeah.
30 years
Okay,
before
so
cameras.
Maybe
and
there's some Polaroids in there.
Because what was
Dude,
the
it was just
controversy
algae
with
and
the?
moss.
Was it? I thought it was the Timberwolves.
The Love Boat.
Vikings.
No,
No,
Love Boat.
Vikings.
Yeah,
Love
yeah,
Boat.
yeah.
McKinney and Smoot. We don't. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
that. Yes,
Yeah. What, we can't talk about that?
we can, but this
I know you used to guide Chris Carter and Moss, so I wouldn't want
they were not on the Love Boat. So
Well, then what's the issue?
I didn't get any
I
dirt.
bet Gary Anderson was on it, and he poached your river
No,
spot.
he was poaching my river spots. That's like, I don't know why I'm doing housekeeping on your desk. There's like staples on here. It's bothering me, my OCD. Sorry.
No, dude, that's perfect. I'm glad you came because my whole garage could use a cleaning, so I figured you could help clean the garage when you're done.
No, I got my area. Oh, wait, there's a crumb.
But it's good to know St.
No, I'm
Croix
good.
boundaries, though, so I'm going to actually probably show you a map when we're done so you can show me.
It's in your email.
Oh, yeah, I'll just check. Hey, this is a public service announcement. Check your email.
Check your
'Kay?
email.
So then we have a championship, which won't be announced until meeting one.
Meeting one.
Meeting one.
Perfect.
Yep.
Cool. Cool. And then we got, I guess, the first kind of the big kickoff tournament that has
Do we want? Let's just go through and let's pick our winners. I'm itching. I want to. I
You're
want to hear.
itching.
I
Okay.
want to
I
see
gotta pull
who
up the roster.
I think.
I already know what Aaron Teal's picks are.
No, so I made a decision, okay? So I'm betting on myself every tournament. So
Yeah.
I'm picking myself internally every tournament. But for the sake of this exercise
On the
today,
inside, you're picking yourself.
between us, I'm picking myself, but I don't think there's a point for me to blurt that out each event. So I'm just going to pick two people, if I don't win, that I would pick to be my favorites.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I just don't want I just don't want people to think I'm not taking this stuff seriously. You know, I'm not. I'm here to try. I'm here to give it my all. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
I respect that.
that's all. That's
You kind of got to be arrogant and cocky though to win a tournament, and
maybe that's why I haven't won one.
That's
of
what-
those
that's
yet.
might be where
I've
I'm
won
going with
tournaments,
this.
but I haven't won one of those
that
yet.
maybe that's where I'm going with this.
All right, maybe
I mean,
I'll pick
you gotta,
myself again.
you gotta,
maybe I'll pick
you gotta step your
only
game,
myself. Maybe I won't mention another name.
step your game up and do a Shane Raveling at blast off, run around to everybody and just stare him in the eye, like you better catch him today, and just
Yeah, like
Just
you
start
used to
it.
do to fighter.
oh yeah,
Hope you boys are on him.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna mow you down today.
yep.
And then he would.
Yeah, 5:30 in the morning. You barely have 2 sips of your coffee, and here's Shane, basically just getting in your head. Oh yeah, it was brilliant.
I
I
tried.
tried that on Glenn at the St. Jude's last fall. Didn't work real well.
It's more so just.
Plus, I didn't catch him either.
I think there's definitely something that stare down, like I'm not afraid of you type of thing.
Oh,
I try to
totally.
do that in the morning, like I'm not afraid of anybody. It's just
Absolutely.
more so not to let them know I'm not afraid, but to let me know I'm not afraid.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know,
All right.
kind of like Matt Thompson would say, he manufactures anger in the morning. It's not that he's actually.
I don't know
angry.
what Matt
I'm just telling you from an example standpoint. Okay, so Boji.
All right,
picks.
Boji.
Okay.
Champions.
This is just a tough one. Man, I'm looking down the
Yeah, let's
list.
start with
Boji
Jack.
one's the toughest one, I think.
Yeah, right.
Because
It's an
I probably
unknown.
don't know them ayahuascans very well, you know?
That's the first thing. I don't know who those 7 people are that you're talking about, Glenn.
I think I'm just going to pick one of them.
I mean, so
I have 2, right?
I'm going to pick an ayahuascan.
I have 2 in my head. Can
and
I
then
start?
someone else. Yeah, absolutely.
Okaboji, it's been since the dark times since I've been there. Don't really remember what it looks like, except I remember, well, it's in Iowa. It has largemouth, really big ones, and it's got a ton of smallmouth. And my first pick would be returning Champions Tour angler Brad Lutner. But I'm thinking Arnold Helgerson could be really dangerous down there with all of the boat docks on that lake, and they can play on that lake.
They can
And
play from what I've heard.
Arnold, I mean, he is our reigning angler of the year, and I think he's going to have just, rightfully so, just that angler of the year level of confidence. Yeah,
Yep,
I think
like
he's
it.
going to fit
I like
right
it.
in down there.
I like it.
So
Okay.
those are my picks.
I guess I'll chime in. I'm going to go Mr. Noah Schultz.
Always.
Oh, creative.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he
Let's
has,
go out on a limb, Glenn.
Thinking
he,
outside the
well,
box.
he has some experience there.
Yeah.
And
That's closer to him than probably Minnetonka.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then looking at the new guys, I'm gonna go with I think I'm gonna go with Tony Johnson from Mason City, Iowa.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
Picking a local.
Yep. Yep.
I feel like it's going to be. I've never fished Okoboji. I've fished Iowa, so I've somewhat of a feel for seasonal stuff. But I feel like it might be a little tricky, kind of early to mid-June. I mean, we'll probably have some spawning fish, but the largemouth will probably be done. So, I think the versatile guy is going to do well. I kind of like the idea of Ron Mayer. I feel like he's a versatile guy. He can do a little bit of everything.
Ooh.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's my pick.
But yeah, I feel like for several, Ron has been super strong since he started fishing with us. I feel like he's due, number one.
Yeah.
He knows
And
Boji well,
he-
too.
okay.
Sorry.
I didn't even know
I'll
that.
let you
So,
finish.
but okay, that even makes my pick stronger. But just his versatility. I feel like he can catch him on a spinning rod. He can catch him, any way he wants. And I think that turn is going to kind of take that. So my number one is Ron.
I like it.
I like Jason Howland too.
Yeah.
He's from down that way. I don't know if he's fished there. I'm guessing he has.
Yeah.
But
It's probably closer to him than any other
right,
venue.
Right. So he's another guy that's in that
I was thinking that.
geographic area. So those would be my two.
Yep, got it. I like the Holland. I like Figgy for that. I like even Krampets. I think
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But my one pick for that one's Ron Mayer, just because I know he's been fishing that lake every year for going down for that Boji Open. So as far as the timing of that lake, the movements, the adjustments throughout the day, I feel like Ron's got a leg up on me for sure.
Sure.
So he'd be my first pick, and I like the Helgerson pick, but my second pick, because I don't know any of the ayahuascans yet. Once I know you guys, you'd probably be both my picks. So sorry to the ayahuascans, but I'm gonna go Kyle Shuda for my second pick.
Yeah.
I think
that's
that
a good one.
that lake is kind of up his alley.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. That's another dark
Yeah, I
horse.
like that. Yep.
Yeah.
So those are my two. Okay.
And Kyle,
What-
you're not a
what do
dark
we-
horse. I don't mean it that way. Just why I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking of you. I apologize.
What's it going to take? Is it going to be a just
Who knows? We've
whack
never been
fest,
there.
or is it going to be difficult? I have
They're
no
going to
idea.
catch them.
Talking to Figgy and Willie, and that could be Willie Papa's tournament. I bet Willie Papa top
Yeah.
10's that one. He's a good dogfish.
Oh,
he's a
yeah.
good junker.
Yeah.
But they were saying that they think that one's going to take well over 100.
Yeah, I wouldn't
And
doubt
they
it.
think the record could be broken there. And to me, it's just going to boil down to how post-spawn grimy them
Yeah.
fish are.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't think that can be done with bedfish. I just don't know if you can catch the sheer numbers of bedfish to compete with over 100 anyway, if
Yeah.
it is going to take that.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And if this weather continues and we get a super early spring, which we're having, as long as March doesn't turn into 7 feet of snow, spawn may not even be on the menu
No.
by then.
Yeah.
So
right, if
Yeah.
if if it keeps up, we might be ledge fishing heat of summer.
Right. Right.
But I think the key to that lake's going to be figuring out the clean and the dirty.
Yeah.
Because you got both.
Yeah,
It almost
right.
cuts it in half, right?
Yeah.
So this podcast is brought to you by my compadre, my tournament partner, my brother, and the best rod builder above the Mason-Dixon line, Veselka Fishing and Customs. Specializing in custom fishing rods. That's right. Hand-built fishing rods, custom-made and tailored how you want, whether it's by length, action, specific technique, balance, or anything you want. Anything. Veselka Fishing and Customs can build it. Mr. Veselka also has a wide variety of rods to choose from, which we've had a lot of fun with, perfecting and testing. The most unique and famous rod developed at Veselka Fishing and Customs is his custom Marabou hair jig rod. Have you thrown the old Canadian dinner mint, the Harry Gary, the fighter fly, the old thin Lizzie? If you have, then you know these little fluff balls can be hard to cast, especially at those key sizes as light as 1/16 of an ounce. Well, what if I told you you could cast that Marabou jig 30 to 50% farther than you're casting it now? What if I told you you don't have to spook those shallow, skittish smallmouth? Well, with the custom hair jig rod from Veselka Fishing and Customs, not only can you cast a lot further, but the way this rod loads up on a long cast is pure perfection. This balanced rod has the perfect backbone with a light action parabolic taper that keeps those fish pinned without breaking your line. Mr. Veselka utilizes an 8-foot custom fly fishing blank converted to a spinning rod and couples it with premium guides leading up to custom fly guides that allow maximized casting distance and reduced line friction and blank slap, maximizing your overall performance, obviously. And we found this rod is not only perfect for Marabou hair jigs, but for any light bait you need to cast far, including small swim baits, spy baits, and more. Any light bait you need to cast far, look no further than the Veselka Fishing and Customs Hair Jig Special. So head on over to his website, veselkafishing.com. That's VOCELKA fishing.com. And treat yourself to the custom hair jig rod or any custom rod you can dream up. Most tournament anglers and guides are not covered fully or properly. Most insurance policies don't cover exposure due to tournaments and guiding. Taking the chance of using the wrong insurance gives the insurance company an out when settling a claim. How will the insurance company know that your fishing tournaments are guiding? Well, social media is their number one resource. And guess what? They use it. Lake Country Insurance offers one of the only products that can cover both tournament and guiding use in your vessel. Anglers don't seem to hesitate spending $50,000 to $100,000 for a boat. Why risk that large asset all because you wanted to save a few extra shekels? Are you nuts? Call the folks at Lake Country Insurance today and make sure you have the proper coverage for your boat before the unexpected happens. Call 612-285-3113 today or visit their website, lcisagency.com. That's lcisagency.com. I feel like the guy who figures out how to catch them,
Which is the way it is with every Champions Tour event. You got to figure out, I'm going to tell you where you get to fish and what time you get to fish there.
But Big Stone, for example, you have pretty much same clarity throughout the whole lake.
No, you're
right.
You're right.
Tonka would be another example of clean versus dirty, transition, but there seems to be a big stain section in Tonka too versus Boji seems to be
half and a half.
Very clean or dirty.
Yep.
So anyway, then we move on to Gull, which it's a good time of year to be on Gull Lake.
Gull will be fun.
Yep. And I think I don't know who my picks for Gull would be. Obviously I think Novak's a good pick for Gull.
Yes. Novak's a good one.
Novak would be one of my picks, and Dane would be my other pick.
Dane, I mean, but Gull even.
Dane and Novak.
Tim Schroeder on Gull.
Oh,
Tim
shit,
Schroeder's
yeah.
not fishing.
He's not. No.
What?
Yo,
Tim Schroeder's not fishing the tour.
Oh, Timmy, I'm gonna miss you, bud.
But Tim Schroeder is fishing the Pro-Am.
Perfect.
So we'll go into that later.
All right.
But one of
I
my
think
picks on
in
the Pro-Am is Tim.
I
Tyler
think in
Barr.
hope, I feel like, and maybe I'm just remembering wrong, but I feel like the last time we were there on Gull, that is, and maybe even a time or two before. And, obviously a lot goes into this where, you've got pre-fishing pressure throughout the week and things change, but I feel like it hasn't really been on every time we're there. And it's
No.
always
Yes.
turned, look, for
it was
example,
definitely off last time.
last year, Noah won, basically fishing dock. And you would think someone would catch him offshore there and, that would be your top 5 guys that find some
Yep.
offshore schools and, kills them on a jig worm or whatever. I think maybe finally my hope is that we get that.
Yeah.
And your guy that has those 2-3, super schools located, then they bite and it comes together in that way.
Because the offshore bite was super off last time.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. It just turned into kind of a grimy, like I said, I mean, if I remember right, Noah
Nope.
basically took charge on the docks, right?
So I was leading with the half hour
Right.
left offshore.
Yep.
I fished docks. I had done.
I wasn't
going to
bring that
everything
up.
throughout the day. I don't care, man. It's in the past. I was proud to take second, dude. I mean, at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
I haven't done better than that. So, but I remember that it was the toughest offshore bite I'd ever seen, but figured it out, but it was still not. It was such a weather dependent day that day. And it seemed like the offshore deal carried you until that sun came out and it slicked off. And then the docks just turned the heck on. I think this year though, July,
Yeah, right.
it's going to be
right.
because we were towards the end of August. I think
It was the event to go to
true.
the
That's
championship.
right.
right.
That's
Yeah,
true.
it was the last event.
You
So,
should have fresh fish out there
Yeah.
that haven't been totally beat on, and they're
Well,
not.
I think it could be a slugfest.
Well, that's what I was wondering though too, because I've been fishing Gull a lot more. I mean, all of us have been because it's so phenomenal. It's fishing better than it ever has, but it's getting a ton of pressure,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if that's starting. We were up there last September, and man, it was just primed to go. But the fish just got weird as the pressure went on. So I'm wondering if Gull's starting to experience maybe a little Minnetonka syndrome type deal.
right.
Like the one benefit we'll have is that we're like that 2 weeks after the 4th. So over the 4th, you're going to have your recreational traffic.
Yeah.
So that'll keep angling pressure limited. I mean, guys
Sure.
fish it over the 4th, but it's not like end of July or early August where anglers have had 3-4 weeks to go hit it. It's
Yep.
going to be right after the 4th, so a
And
little
the
bit
wake
down.
the wake boats should have them driven out to the grass.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
There's no way to predict it. I just hope
Agreed.
that it's fishing well and shows out. Like
Yep.
to your point, Gull has been amazing the last handful. It's
Right.
always been good, but it has gotten there's like another level of average size fish in
Yes.
there these days.
5 fish
And-
takes 20 pounds
Yeah.
down.
Yep.
Goal.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was not the
19, 20
case
pounds.
for 10, 15 years there, right?
Well,
I mean,
Maybe
So-
top 5 was 16 pounds.
Silverado days when we went there, 8 fish limit. If you had 18 pounds would win for an 8
Yeah.
fish limit back there.
Right.
Back
Yeah.
then, and
so it would just be
you had
sweet to have
16
it.
pounds. You're like, sweet, I got a top
Yeah.
5. You know,
Not that everyone's going to crush them because it just never happens
Yeah.
that way. But get your handful of guys that just land on them and have a good old time. And, I mean, I like Figgy there
Yeah.
because of his weed line capability, and maybe
He can
mix in
flip.
some flipping.
I think they're flipping deal out there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, John Hunter Went is a good one there.
I'm
If
picking.
the flipping goes down, Hunter, Figgy,
Yeah.
and Peters are gonna do pretty good. And I guess my picks were Novak, and Dane, and I would say they're more maybe my style of offshore fishing a little bit more maybe.
Well, my picks are Mr. Aaron Teal and Jim Moyna.
Yep.
Jim's going to
That
win one
was
this
some-
year,
I-
and I think Aaron Teal's going to win.
I was
I
going to
like
say
both those
I pick
picks.
Yeah.
my pick. Moyna gets the monkey off his back this year.
Yep.
I think he wins. I think he'd be a candidate at Okoboji. But I think him on Gull, he can junk fish, he can weed line fish. He made the change this year to go from fishing MLF invitationals or
Yep.
to fishing the Bass Opens.
Yeah, and he did well at Okeechobee.
He cashed a check.
Yeah.
And, yep. So I think,
Jim's got a fire. I think Jim's got a fire in his belly again.
he's
Big
had
time.
had a fire.
Mad
I
at him.
think.
Oh yeah.
From what I've seen, he's had a fire fishing the Champions Tour, and I think
Yeah.
that fire has helped ignite him on his national stuff. And I think that's going to just, I think he's probably going to a whole bunch of new lakes, different times of year this year for the Opens, coming back to fish, home waters
Yeah.
for him. He's going to just go on it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think Moyna gets the monkey off his back with a win. I pick him for Gull. And then I'm going to go with Tyler Barr. Because
good one.
Tyler was
Yep.
in...
He was leading it.
He was leading after the
first
first.
half.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I think
That's
he ended
right.
up top 5.
Yep.
And that was his rookie season.
Yeah.
So
You could argue that he would. I mean, again, small sample, but I mean, he probably had. Aaron and Tyler probably had the best offshore bike on.
Agreed.
Remember, Tyler was killing him in the morning.
Yep.
Oh, he had a
Yep.
strong lead
He
in the
was-
morning.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so there was Noah caught some offshore fish in
He
the
did.
morning.
Yeah. I feel like you and Tyler were kind of the two that were catching for a
It
period of
seemed
time.
like nobody was out there second half, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
seemed like I was not getting that many bites, but it was enough,
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't maybe the deal, but it was. Them fish were still out there.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Can I have a third pick?
Yeah,
You're the tournament
absolutely. It's
director.
the
You can do what you
Galaxy,
want.
yeah.
Nice. Dean Capra. He's due.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Young Gull is a good
Yeah.
spot for him.
Enough
Lifer,
said.
Liferman.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah.
Liferman would be a good one.
If it's cloudy
For
I feel
Okoboji.
Liferman would be a good one for Okoboji. Oh, Liferman's a good one
Yeah.
for any body
Yeah.
of water.
Keller
Let's
would be
just
Did you
be
guys
honest.
see
I
that?
think Keller's a little mad at him this
Yeah.
year too.
Did-
I feel
yeah.
like.
Did you guys see Dino and Brad teamed up in Florida the other week?
Yeah,
and
I
cashed
did.
a check.
I saw that. And Brad, I'm so proud of you. You let Dean hold a fish for a picture on Facebook. That was a big one.
I think they actually Indian leg wrestled to see who got to hold the fish.
Probably.
Nice.
Probably.
Nice.
Because
I love
Brad's
it.
been rehabbing that knee.
Yeah.
I think
ready
he's
to
ready.
go.
He's going to get back in the ring. Cage
yeah,
fighting.
Brad needs to be up there. Brad on picks because last year he struggled, man, with that knee.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
It was. You could tell it was
Battled through it though.
hurting
Good for
him.
him.
He battled through it like a
did.
machine,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, heck, you got a cold or a sniffle that can throw
It's
you
cool
off
when
your
it's
game.
hard to. It's really hard to pick. You just keep thinking of all these names.
It
and
is.
It's like, man, there's a lot of
Yeah.
good fishermen
Yeah,
on
there's
Champions
no
Tour.
way you
It's
They're
like-
65.
But so on Brad, that's an interesting point. So Brad is our only angler out of all 65 that technically will be fishing like 12 months of the year.
What do you mean? What about me? Oh,
You
I'm
don't
not-
compete, and
No,
I'm
you're
talking
right.
bass. So Brad,
Brad's
I mean, so
guiding Harris chain.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
by the time
Yeah.
we start in
He's sharp.
June,
He's sharp.
he's sharp. And I mean, and yes, we have other guys fish our guys fish tournaments prior to our events, but there's some, and and Aaron, I think you can agree, the time on the water, obviously we all know is paramount. Brad's boat, motor, electronics are all dialed in.
He's done,
He's
yeah.
dialed in. I mean, by the time he pulls back into Minnesota, it's not that ramp up phase. He's gonna be ready to go.
He's
So
sharp already.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and he has that fire. So I think
And he could very well drive through Okoboji on his way home
I
and spend a little time.
would not be surprised.
Good point.
Yeah.
So then we go to St. Croix.
I'm gonna
Go
one
ahead.
more point. A guy that I forgot about on Gull, just because of it's a new guy,
Oh, yeah.
finesse guy, like just a wizard with a spinning rod, catches him on Tonka. Is John Nelly from Thorne Brothers. Like
Noted.
he could be dangerous on Gull. He's jumping back into it. He hasn't
Yep.
fished tournaments super hardcore lately, and I mean that guy, like I said, in terms of jig worming and drop shotting, which
He's
could
a
go down
machine.
on Gull.
He's a machine.
I
And
like
he,
I like
mean,
Nelly.
Nelly, Thorne Brothers staple, but he fished the RCLs.
Oh, yeah,
which
he's
was
got
the elite series
More
of the
experience
walleye
than
world. Yeah.
most of the. I mean, tons and tons of experience.
Yeah.
So, like I say, if it's a weed line deal and he can locate some schools, it
Yeah. Watch out.
could be dangerous as well.
Yeah.
So-
That's a great pick.
Continue.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So St. Croix.
St. Croix.
I feel like this kind of like Bogie is a little bit hard to pick. I have my picks though.
I'm really excited for the St. Croix
Me too.
because it is so different than anything we
it's-
do. I mean, you think river, St. Croix, we've been to the Mississippi, this and that, but the St. Croix is a totally different beast of any river I've ever been on.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of fish in there, but it can get stingy. It can go. I've fished it just a couple of times. I know several people that have fished it a lot, and there's some big smallmouth and big largemouth and huge numbers of smallmouth, but it can go either direction. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think it'll be fun.
Never been on it, but I picture it fishing a little bit like Pepin. Mm-hmm. Is that way off?
No, not at all, except
Pepin in the
deeper.
summer, I'm saying. Okay.
It's deeper, it's clearer. But yes, Pepin's got a lot of some of those shallow grass flats and this and that close to the main river channel. There is that stuff on the St. Croix, and I apologize if it's been so long since I've been there. But Pepin is probably the best analogy, but it is
that's kind of what I'm
very
going
different
off of.
than Pepin, though.
I mean, we had, probably been 4 or 5 years when we had a more summer tournament on Pool 4 and 5, which the guys that won and the guys that caught them pretty much lived on Pepin.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I see this event, my picks based off of. You look at Peters or Figgy who, found those roaming river schools of, where there's hundreds of bass and you can just catch them.
You picking Peters?
I'm picking Peters.
I am too.
Yeah. Perfect.
St. Croix, they can go pelagic.
Yeah, there's just a lot of that kind of chasing them around, using your electronics.
I had 3, and he was one of them.
Yeah.
So you guys saying him helps me say 2. So
St. Croix, that sounds like Aaron Teal's doing a little pre-fishing right now with our picks on the St. Croix. But no, St. Croix, those smallies can go pelagic out there and go roam like a school of tuna or something.
I like that.
Yeah.
So Peters, he's proven time and time again that's right up his alley. I think he's a big one. And I think Peters is going to have some fire in his belly this year. Big time. So
I'm going to go with you, Teal. I think the finesse aspect, as Paul hit, it's clear, it's deep. I think you finesse fish well. I think you have a untapped or unopened secret tackle box that you've been loading over the last 6 months.
I was just looking at it. It's on the ping pong table.
Yeah, 6 months of building up tackle from our new Champions Tour sponsor, Waypoint Angler Supply, and I think that's going to play. From what I've seen, I think it's a river smallmouth, and river largemouth, but I think, like Paul said, I think pressure and those fish are going to maybe do some weird things. I think some secret stuff's going to come into play. And then I'm going to go with returning Champions Tour angler Mark Kortz. Being
a good pick.
So
that's my
I'm guessing that Mark probably has fished the St. Croix for walleye.
Oh, sure.
And so I'm guessing he probably has, I would say probably more time on the St. Croix than any of our other anglers.
Knowing the lay of the land at the very least, just running up and down it,
exactly,
knowing where structure is.
Yep. So those are my 2 picks. I think the finesse approach, and then just having the navigational aspect down of knowing where to go, how things run, the current.
Yep.
That Kortz probably has from walleye events there, I think is going to play. So
let's get some good topwater footage out of that event.
That one could be huge.
Cool,
That
would be fun.
That could be walking baits over
We
40,
haven't
50
really.
feet of water.
That's the one thing, and you and I talk about it so many times. Like when Bart's grabbing video, we're like, God, can we just get on a topwater bite? And every event,
Steve Sandberg, Pelican Lake topwater bite. Remember that Pelican Lake video? That morning popper bite.
Yep.
But, and every year, are we going to every event? Like, we're gonna get it, and then morning of the tournament,
Keller racked him up on a frog a little bit on Rush to start the day.
Yep.
He had a little pod going.
And then where did Keller get him on a popper?
He was catching smallmouth.
Yeah, where was that?
On Lahamid.
Yeah.
On the shallow.
Up on a flat.
Yeah, that's right. But we didn't get any footage of it.
Well, we did notes after that day, and I had big fish in that tournament, smallie,
yeah,
deep.
That's right.
Yeah.
And around the same, I think it was within the hour.
He was up and about.
He had caught a big smallmouth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's like I caught one in 27, and he
No
catches
way.
one
Flat,
in 3.
calm, hot, and sunny, and they went shallow.
I mean, there was
Never
55
happens.
of them out deep.
I know. And
Jeez.
there was
They're
probably
sitting there.
55
None
of
of them
them that
wanted to
just
eat.
left your school and were going to 6 inches of water.
They definitely weren't active.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know.
threw a drop shot in there, nothing. I threw a Ned rig in there, nothing. I threw a jig in there. Boom, got it. baby.
There you go.
Those brown
So-
ones, man. Middle of August, it gets flat, calm, and sunny. They like to
it
go
got
6
off the
inches
top
of water.
water
They're
train
weird.
though. But what was weird to me was the timing of the bites and how it was a similar time of day.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, blah 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, my pick: St. Croix,
This mic cord's driving me nuts.
Mark Cords. Oh, here.
No, because when I let go, it goes. It's like you have it weighted. Do you have a drop shot weight on that?
Well, gravity's
See, look, it
gravity.
goes. No, Yeah, look at
Science.
that. It's driving me nuts.
Okay. Well, we're working on anti-gravity.
I don't know what to do with my
within
hands.
the, you know.
I'll just sit here and hold it. I'm good. Don't worry. My moment's over.
I got an idea. What if we get gravity?
We've
going
had
the
about
other
8
way?
of these moments
Boom.
already.
Yeah.
So,
Gravity. Boom. Gravity. Now it's working for you, not against you.
Quit picking on me.
I'm not picking on you. I'm helping
Alright.
you.
Okay.
You help
Thank
me
you.
too.
Thank
we
you.
help each other. That's
We
what
do.
friends are for.
It's
Okay.
yep.
Yep.
All right.
Champions Tour.
Thank you.
what friends
Thank
are
you.
for.
See,
Thanks.
there
Yeah,
you
friends
go.
are for.
I like it.
Okay, my first pick for the St. Croix is Mark Cords.
I like it.
And I think Leitner could have a good event too. I think just with his kind of roaminess with Smallies.
He's gonna. Brad's gonna come. Brad's been an EQ qualifier for a year ago and this year, so I think he's definitely gonna come back to Minnesota. He won 2 events back to back Champions Tour
Yeah.
events.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
my
mean-
sleeper pick is Dave Sickinator
yeah.
for that event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
just
kind of towards there. I feel like
Yeah.
he's due.
yeah.
I feel like he's due. I feel like he's a good angler, and he's my sleeper pick.
I like that.
Nice.
Yeah, Lutner's going to have some new tricks in his bag this year. I guess that's all I was going to say there.
That's where I was saying.
He's
with,
gonna
like,
have
what
yeah.
Glenn was saying. I
Yeah.
think of a light, that minnow deal.
Oh,
some
totally,
of that
yeah.
stuff that he's picked up down south. I think could come into play on the St. Croix.
Yeah.
But
I think I'm really looking forward to watching that one. It's just total
Yeah.
mystery.
Matt Peters
me-
is my number one. Ron Mayer's my.
It's a lot
second
of water
guess
too.
there.
It's a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is that from Prescott to the upper end of Stillwater? That's got to be
It's a few miles. Just a
30?
few. Probably. It's
25, 30?
Is it quite as big
I could
as
be way
Pepin?
off. Pepin's like 25, 27.
No, Pepin's depends on where you call the start of it, but it's a
Right.
solid 30.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Howland could be a good pick for that one too.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just because of his
Yep,
river.
it is river.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's because who else is a true rat? Howland's
Yeah.
a true rat.
And nothing.
Who
I'm
else
not.
is a true
I'm not
rat
saying
that's
Hol-
fishing? Because river's a river.
I'm not saying Howland's not a perfect pick. The river's a river, and you are right. But the St. Croix is not a. It is a river, but it is not a river.
Right.
It really has its own unique identity to it.
it's gonna be cool.
It's a river. It's got current, but there ain't no backwaters. It's
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
leave it at that. I like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
I like it.
Cool.
Cool.
Are you done pre-fishing now with our picks?
Well, now that our picks are over, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking.
Unless we got last time we did champion picks, and I'm not gonna pick. I mean,
Championship pick?
yeah, if you're not gonna name the lake, I'm just gonna pick Noah Schultz. So
Yeah,
Fair. That's
Like-
safe.
fair.
That's safe. Me too. All of
yeah,
it. Done.
like percentages are in my favor there.
Yep.
With that pick.
Until
Until
one
someone
of you
dethrones
64
him.
other anglers beat him, we're just picking Noah for the championship. So
We all know we're gonna try, right, boys?
Yep.
Any gals fishing this year? Before I say boys,
No,
No.
I don't believe so.
one of these years.
Yep.
one of these, yes.
Champions Tour is not sexist, by the way. We just didn't have any entries.
Oh, don't try and put that on us.
I
Don't put that on us,
That's
Ricky Bobby.
exactly what I just said. I didn't put it on you. I was just clarifying.
Thank
After
you.
I said there are no gals, I didn't
Yeah.
want people to
I
think
appreciate
you were.
it. Yes.
So I said
No.
we're
Yep.
not
All right,
sexist,
all
by
right,
the way.
all right,
we just
all
didn't get any
All
entries.
right. Yep.
And now we're probably not going to
It's not
get it.
these
Thanks
guys'
a lot,
fault that
Teal.
the women are scared.
No,
There we go.
I'm joking.
know-
I'm joking.
let's be honest. You guys are lucky gals haven't entered the tour yet.
Dude, I like
They would.
Dude, they should. There's no difference biologically in a female's ability to catch a bass versus a man's. The only difference is
I'm
their
just-
ability to go to the bathroom. And Karen Savick has proven that that's not a thing. Should go right off the back. So really, why the heck isn't there more
I'm
females
telling
fishing?
you,
That's what I want.
Got to be better mentally.
their work ethic,
They're smarter.
and their drive and their determination. You guys are lucky the ladies have not entered the Champions Tour.
Totally.
Yeah, they'd make
We
you
saw
look
what
like
they
fools.
did in math class, science. I mean, like every. I wouldn't have passed high school without a woman helping me through it.
Cheating offer?
Whichever one I could find.
Okay. Just checking. I mean,
So
I need to know how much
think
I
that's
gotta
a great
keep my eye on
organic
you this
break
year.
for a bathroom break.
Like Ross at Waypoint Angler Supply, I would call him the fishing tackle kingpin.
oh,
North of the Mason-Dixon. Like he is, yeah, he's a kingpin. He's the best tackle dealer I know. He's the plug.
that I wandered in there this winter, and that place is pretty naughty. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad it's like an hour and a half away from my house.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what your son would spend there?
That's where I'm going with this, is that I have a 16-year-old son that is enamored with glide baits, and he wants to get a job, and he wants to, sell fish and tackle. But he would never bring home a paycheck because he would just bring home.
Right back into the till.
He'd work for like 3 months and bring home one glide bait, and he'd cast it out once, and something with a lot of teeth would take it from him. He's like, all right, I got to go back to work for 3 months.
Yep.
I'm tiptoeing there. But then you got like type A right here. OCD, the most organized human being that I know. And it's funny because Ross, the owner, they invented that ammo box. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I saw you post about it, I'm like, surprised Glenn wasn't 5 years ahead on this.
I got to
because,
see Glenn's
like,
garage last week, and you want to talk OCD, dude. I'm like, dude, you need a therapist. This is pretty
dude, he's gonna need some detox after this garage. Are you okay?
This actually isn't bad. I'm actually proud of you. I
Thank you.
envisioned a lot more cardboard boxes filled with tackle.
There's been points, peaks and
we could-
valleys of the process.
Yeah. But no, that ammo box is crazy. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's ingenious.
I think I got one under there. You've seen that, right, Newman?
You better pull it out and let me have a look-see.
So, I mean,
Actually, yes. No, I have not seen the
so
tungsten ammo
before,
box.
what I always did is I would just get,
Oh.
you go on Amazon and I would buy like the pill bags, like
Yep.
not the cheap ones. You got to get a little bit heavier millimeter so the tungsten doesn't rip them. And then I would label maker each one and say size. So now this, you don't have to do it.
No, and
Is this your new Carolina rig light?
that is actually
Teal, this is an ice fishing depth finder. I usually clip these on the shoelace of my boot.
that is a smallmouth stabilizing device,
Ah, okay.
and I got two of them in there because it seems to depend if you got to either go two on the front two fins for a little bit
thinking
or
there's
one
a
on
little-
the back. But I always would lose them. Those things. I would always lose them in the boat till I got this thing, and now I got like a spot for them.
Okay.
So then, like, if I need a weight for literally a fish's fin, I got a spot for it. And what I like is it got different compartment sizes, so it even fits those like badass sea rig weights that Jack stole from me on the way over here.
Yeah, I found these on the shelf. I had seen.
That not the naughtiest little weight you've ever seen.
That was
These
the
interest
pack I
me.
was gonna sneak
This
in
is
my
a depth
pocket
finder.
on the way out.
This is a 1987.
This is the
depth
Paul
finder.
Neumann depth finder right here.
This is the-
drag the sea rig around and find the hard spots.
Well, we called him the old ball and chain, but now you can't call him that with this. But this is naughty.
No, I
like
saw this the other day on social on all the product videos that Waypoint does, which I love, by the way. It's good stuff. And getting back to your original point, like it's really exciting what they've got going on there. Like I feel like it's brought kind of some of the down south and the hardcore bass tournament angler around the world. It's brought it to our part of the country, which hasn't happened. So it's cool stuff, and we're definitely glad to have them be a part of the Champions Tour this year. But back to my original point here. I saw the Ryugi Carolina rig sinker on social the other day and happened to find one on in the Galaxy here, and we were talking a little bit about it. But simple but genius little weight. I mean,
this is
how
cool.
many Carolina rigs have we donated to the rock piles on Minnetonka and all your little leg, obviously anywhere. My goodness, and this thing with that little plastic cylinder to pop it up out of there makes a ton of sense.
Well, when
Simple,
you're
but
dragging a
genius.
sea rig on zebra mussels, Tonka, the river, right? Where does that fail, right? On your line,
Yeah, right above
right
the
ahead of the
sinker.
weight,
Right
right,
at the head of
ahead
it.
of the weight.
Right at the head of it. Yep.
So it's like, and then what's the worst rig to have to retie in the boat?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of them.
Yep.
Oh, that one's quick and easy. It's
My-
retying
well, it's quick
FG
and
nuts
easy.
on my
Braid-
spinning rod.
know
Braid
what
the
I mean,
floor
though?
leader is the worst.
It is, but you know what I mean. Like, retying a whole rig is worse than a jig.
Yeah.
I'd rather retie a jig.
Mike Carter used to take the Lindy. I don't even know what they call it. It's for your spinner rigs.
Right.
No snakes.
wrap 'em.
And he,
Oh, yeah.
the night before tournaments, because that's all MC did on Tonka was drag the old ball and chain around, but he would retie leaders and wrap them on the Lindy spinner rig storage tool. And when he'd break off, just new leader, done, gone.
That's what I do. Are you ready to reel in your next home purchase or refinance? Supreme Lending's Dream Team can help guide you through the entire mortgage process, from pre-qualification to closing. They have a wide variety of home loan programs in their tackle box, including down payment assistance and first-time home buyer options. Just ask me. I trusted Aaron Dagas, a bass fisherman just like you and me, and Supreme Lending's Dream Team to help finance my first home. Contact Aaron Dagas and the Dream Team today by scanning the QR code or giving them a call at 763-326-0677. That's 763-326-0677. Did I catch a 7 in there? Or visit their website, aarondages.supremelending.com. That's AARONDAEGES.supremelending.com.
Hey guys, Gavin with Waypoint Angler Supply here. Just wanted to highlight the fact that we have the big bass resource right here. Obviously, everybody in Minnesota knows about Kitex and the littler swim baits like these bait labs here, but we're here to have the big baits here in the store. We got Huddlestons, we've got the dangerous swim baits, the jointed claw glide baits, and the bull shooter glide baits. But it's not only the baits. We've got big rods, big reels, big line, and all that good stuff for you guys to go ahead and chase your biggest fish of your life. So swing on into Waypoint Angler Supply and get hooked up with the biggest tackle around.
If I know I'm going to be throwing a sea rig all day, but it's all about efficiency, right? In tournament fishing, it's all about efficiency. So they make that. They also carry that decoy eye guard. So like sea rigging,
Oh, that's cool.
you put that over your barrel swivel, so
Yeah.
that weight
Protected.
isn't beating into your knot, right? So now when you're firing that thing, you don't have 3/4 of an ounce banging into your knot, beating it up.
There you go.
And then you got that protector on the front side.
Yep.
So now we're making more casts throughout the day.
Yep.
We're being more efficient on the water. And
See, that half-hour break is plenty of time for you now with all these time efficiency tools.
honestly, that's why I started learning Japanese, was because of those short
Okay.
breaks.
Can you
And
say something?
At the end of the day, these guys are so... No, you don't even want to see me try, man. It's still pretty rough.
Right.
Rosetta Stone needs like a slower version for dumb people like me.
For fishermen?
Yeah. But like what I can appreciate about the Japanese is they're like little things like that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
little things like that. And you even had a history. I remember you talking to me about the St. Jude and jerkbait fishing. And just, I think the Japanese were like looking at the evolution of jerkbait fishing. The Japanese were really kind of pushing that envelope too. So they're almost more innovative than we are.
And that's
Oh, no,
America's
they
known for that.
absolutely are. And I've known very, very, very little about the state of the fishing in Japan. But talking to some people one time clued me in. I mean, it was mind-boggling, as obviously Japan's an island. There's a lot of people there. Not a lot of lakes, and the lakes are tiny, and they all run around in these 16-foot little bass boats that are stored at marinas and racks on the lake, and you literally need to have like a 3-month appointment
Yeah.
to get your boat launched to go fish for a few hours, your little window. But you take, I mean, bass fishing in Japan is huge. I mean, you look at it as just a sheer popularity standpoint, it's like the NFL in Japan. It's a big deal over there. And there's just, those fish are so pressured. And I mean, you can definitely tell that the innovations in the tackle, you got a lot of that crazy Japan stuff hanging on your wall. And Waypoint's,
Thanks, Waypoint.
yeah, exactly. I was just going to say it. The attention to detail and some of the crazy stuff that they're innovating and coming up with, and you can just tell it's because they have to. It's a result of.
And I mean, it's obvious, but to me, it more than ever, it makes a difference now.
Oh yeah,
Like back
Well,
when
it
you,
always
back,
has.
Yeah, to a degree, but
it always
I mean,
has. I think the attention to detail and these little teeny little things like this were always a big deal to make a difference. I just think everybody's figuring that out.
I'm more. I guess I'm more saying like having unique stuff that not everyone has matters more than ever.
Right.
Like back in the day, I mean, the fish weren't nearly as pressured. Electronics. I mean, the whole evolution of bass fishing has obviously changed and changed and changed. And now, it. I mean, I would consider myself like I'm fairly young, but I'm kind of old school in I'm not like a tackle geek. I don't have a bunch of new crazy stuff that no one's ever seen, and I'm kind of stubborn in that way, I would say. But like, you better get unstubborn pretty soon
Right.
because I mean, there's a lot of pressure. There's a million tournaments. There's a lot more guys on our bodies of water that are good fishermen than ever.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it
let's look
only
at-
makes sense. Like there's just more people. There's more electronic. The learning curve is shorter. There's a million things you can point to. But my point is that these unique baits and these attention to detail and these things that not everyone has makes a bigger difference now than ever, in my opinion.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you why. Like, right, it make you saying that just put a little light bulb above my head because it used to be, right, the fish that were using cover that you couldn't physically see with your eyes weren't touched as much, right? And then you had guys like Moyna, Neumann, all of a sudden figure out that world out there exists, right?
Yeah.
Now we're talking offshore structure, right? So it used to be visual targets you could see, and then this offshore structure, there was such a challenge with it because keeping your bearings straight,
Yeah.
boat positioning,
Yeah.
knowing what the heck you're sitting on, lake maps, And then it was like, okay, people could do that. And now you had these suspended fish that you couldn't target still because you couldn't physically
Right.
target them that good, right? They were super hard to target. Now with forward-facing sonar, every single inch of the water column is no longer safe.
100%.
So those
Yep.
fish that no matter where they're at in the water column, whether it's a visual target, offshore target you can't visually see, or out suspended, 2 out of 3 of those used to not get touched. And then 1 out of 3 of those didn't get touched. Now all 3 are getting touched,
Totally,
plus more pressure, plus high school fishing.
Right.
Plus we're better. I think us
Yeah.
as anglers have
Yeah.
become better, and I think those fish have become better at not getting caught.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast, I think it was with Drew Benton, and it was talking about forward-facing sonar, and nature had, like, the question of whether we're ruining fisheries or not, he made a good point that he doesn't think nature will let us.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like we always emphasize like us managing fisheries, but we forget to talk about how fisheries and nature kind of has a tendency to manage
Absolutely.
itself and balance itself out.
Absolutely, and we talk about all the technology and these advantages and all these areas of fishing that are unlocked. 25 years ago, the suspended fish thing was
that was
the
the
biggest nightmare.
That was
for
the refuge.
any
There was a refuge for
tournament
the fish.
angler in the
Yeah.
world because when the fish went suspended and out pelagic roaming, write them off.
Yep.
What do I just go in the middle of the lake, throw a rattle trap around? I mean, it
You
was
get on top or jerkbait. Like,
no, I understand
what
that,
I
but
mean?
you
Like,
didn't know
so-
if they were there though either.
Totally.
So basically, when you got into a suspended fish, but now that whole thing's open wide up. But to go back to what you said about nature, it's a combination of nature and human, just the way bass fishermen work. Is I guarantee you, like on Elite Series and this and that, yada yada, you're probably going to start, whether it's this year or in 5 years, but you're going to see guys like Bill Lowen all of a sudden starting whacking some, just flipping the bank, Denny Brower.
It's gonna come back around.
Because what you're going to have is all these guys. I mean, well, no, you look at these
Seriously.
boats, guys are rigging up forward-facing sonar transducers off every corner and side of their boat. They ain't doing that to fish the bank. You know what I mean? And that's what everybody once one guy does something, everybody else has to do it. So I to go back to what, like you said, with nature or whatever, if it's just, I think it's more just it's the current fad or the phase, and I think fish tend to gravitate towards areas where they're not seeing lures all the time. It changes the fishing. It's happened on Mille Lacs.
Not to argue with you, but I've been Easton Fothergill. I don't know if you guys noticed. He just took 7th on Lake Okeechobee.
He had a hell of a tournament.
Yep.
You bet.
Yep.
He scoped I think pretty much every single bass he caught in 3 foot of water.
Well, correct.
So,
but now you got
like when we talk Bill, I do think it's going to come around back to Bill Lowen, but that
You can
Fothergill
still-
thing
you
is
can
the
still
only
do it-
thing
do
that
it on
would
that.
well,
like
Scott
say
Martin did
maybe
the same
it
thing.
won't.
That's what those guys did, though. But now that situation is a little different because if they ever quit killing the grass in Okeechobee and it goes back to what it used to, you can take your
can't
forward
scope
facing
in that grass.
That's
To
what
your
I'm
point.
saying.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that was a matter of a situation right there.
Good point. Good point.
So, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying, like you look at Mille Lacs, back in the 90s, there were rumors of smallmouth in the lake. Walleye fisher was nothing but walleye and perch fishermen out there, but you weren't hearing about them catching all these giant smallmouth all the time. You would hear a little bit in the spring. They'd snag one on a leech and a bobber in the spring, and then in the fall when they're up on the rocks. And when the first day I ever fished that lake, I fished from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. It was August. I never saw a bass all day. I never went shallower than 8 feet of water. It was August. Rocks, deep rocks everywhere. It's all I did all day long.
Because that's what you would think.
That's what, you've never been there. Let's just take some seasonal patterns into it.
Late summer, I should be in 15 feet or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
3:30 in the afternoon, I was fed up and just, there ain't a bass in this lake. And I'm like, screw it, I'm going shallow. I went inside a couple of buoys. I went in a foot of water.
Holy shit.
And the rocks were crawling.
Oh my
It was nothing but those fish lived in a foot of water. I think a smallmouth actually likes to live there, and that's where all the bait was, so it made perfect sense. Not that there wasn't bait out deep, but those fish never saw a boat or a fishing lure for the entire summer living inside the buoys. Ever.
It was them versus the muskies then, right?
I think no, smallmouth, when you get smallmouth in a group, a couple of muskies, they're just like, whatever. They're going to beat them up and destroy them. They are.
It's just a matter of leech.
No, I think it's totally has to do
Leech
with
makes me question
fishing
that.
pressure.
Okay.
Because now if you look at Mille Lacs, very few walleye fishermen out deep. And the smallmouth have gotten destroyed up shallow. Now you're catching them in 28, 30 feet. Where I'm not saying those fish didn't live out there 20 years ago. I'm just talking about the major populations of the fish. Now, I cannot, in August, I can still catch a few up shallow. But the dominant mass of the fish are not up in a foot of water, 4 feet of water, like they used to be, because you look at the change in the dynamic of where the most lures are in the lake.
Yeah.
That's my truly
That's a good theory.
Pure theory.
You've got pressure that's changed that lake. You've got management and forage, I think, has changed as well.
Absolutely,
I think-
all that's going to come into play.
I agree with you. I think a big part of that too is the water clarity. I mean, the lake used to be. I don't want to call it stained,
I
but it
actually think
wasn't.
the lake's dirtier than it used to be.
Depends when you go and
can't-
which side of your lake you're on, it seems like.
Yeah.
In 1995,
It's a washing machine.
You'd find a flat, calm day and just stand up in the bow of your boat and find everything you wanted to fish with your eyeballs.
Yeah.
Well, I know
Because
Glenn
you
knows
didn't
about
have
them.
good maps. Well,
You've had some good
now
days early
I can't see
season.
that same
Yeah.
stuff. Now, maybe is that
With
a
the
difference in
jerk
water
bait.
clarity, or is
yeah.
it because all those rocks are covered in green hair? I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But you
who
can't
knows?
see stuff like you used to out there.
Yeah.
I can't. Maybe I'm just old and my eyes suck.
So go ahead.
No.
Well, no. So I think I think this topic right now in Mille Lacs is going to be very interesting come June for our pro-am.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going to have, so I mean, that's kind of post-spawn funk-ish, pre-summer.
Oh, that should be total
But now,
wandering.
but
Multiple.
just-
Dane and I won one off beds end of June.
yeah, but so now
Oh, yeah.
pending this spring,
Absolutely.
what happens? So that's this. I think that event could show a lot because you'll have deep water in play, you'll have shallow water in play. You're gonna have you're the pro and the am are fishing for their best 8 fish, so it's
Yep.
not 5, and it's not every fish, so it's kind of that middle.
Yep.
And so I think that event will tell a lot about the lake and how things work. And also, I mean, pressure-wise, I mean, Jack, you can probably speak best. I mean, that lake gets a ton of pressure from ice off through
Yeah.
Memorial Day.
It does. I don't know. It does and it doesn't. Like, you go through stretches where it's annoying, but then you also go through a stretch where you fish for 3-4 days and don't see that many people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of water in that time of year. To me, in my opinion, obviously May for sure, but May into June, like it fishes almost bigger than it does the entire year. In many ways.
Absolutely.
So it spreads people out, and I mean, not to rip on people that come from down south, but time and time again, you see guys from Missouri and Texas and whatever up there, and you talk
Illinois is a big one.
You talk to them, and they don't catch shit.
Indiana's a big one.
They don't catch shit.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a giant, daunting, intimidating lake if you've never been there before, and you show up and it's windy or whatever.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't know if the spring pressure is as hampering as some people think, but when you compile that throughout the next month, by August, September, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think you're going to get both. I think you're going to get spawning fish and some of your post spawn stuff, which can be really good. I mean, I would argue that you hear about the post spawn funk with smallmouth. It's not as big a thing as it is with largemouth, in my opinion. Like,
I think their mood just changes more.
Their mood changes,
think
but
it's
they
this or
still
this.
bite, and
I think
they're
the
still
post-spawn
shallow.
bite for whether it's green or brown, I think is phenomenal. I just think, for me, in my experience, that post-spawn bite is probably the biggest time of the year where the fish get so dialed in onto just one thing that they're going to
Yeah.
eat. You know, like, there used to be on Mille Lacs, the post-spawn deal, they'd be roaming dirt and eating bugs. They would not be on the rock pile here and the rock pile here and the rock pile here. They were here and out here, and just they bit and they catch them, and they're big ones, but they were just so keyed in on, I'm just tired and wore out, I'm just going to be lazy and just slurp some crickets. And
They're
some
easy
bugs
to
and-
they're easy to find, but not necessarily easy to get to bite. On Mille Lacs
like that's
specifically,
when you catch them on like that ultra finesse slow hair jig or that ultra crackhead fluke, right? Like
I usually
something-
did the
For me,
fly.
it's something really aggressive
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
really finesse.
Yeah.
But that time of year, I remember when we fished the NABCs out there, getting bites was not difficult.
Yeah.
It was getting 5-pound
Sure,
bites.
of
Yeah.
course.
We
and
couldn't
again,
find, and that was our struggle, was finding reliable staging fish pre or post that were of caliber and having confidence that you could duplicate it. And the problem with the spawning fish was they were all 3 3/4 to 4 1/4 for the most part, right? So I think we're going to deal with a lot of that.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's the guy who can figure out how to get them 5-pound bites that time of year,
Yeah.
which I think less fish are going to weigh 5 pounds.
Well,
They're
and
gonna
so do
be
you think-
That's the other
post-spawn.
thing. Yeah.
Do you think a 40-pound bag is possible for the Pro-Am?
It's a 2-day,
No, one day.
1 day.
One day,
Eight
eight fish.
fish
I-
limit.
I'm gonna
catch,
say
weigh, release.
I'm going to say no.
That time of year, no. So like Mille Lacs has times a year where I think, it's going to take 25 to 27 pounds, right? And that's spring and late.
Yeah.
And
For
then-
8?
No, for 5.
For 5, right?
Okay.
And then summertime, I think 25 is doable, but it's going to drop off a lot quicker. You're going to see a lot of low 20s, right? The post spawn, I think, is kind of more so on the summer train than it is the early and late train,
Agreed.
where
Yeah.
I think 40 is going to be tough. I think mid 35 to 38 pounds, I think, is what
Yep.
it'll take. I don't think you're going to, a kicker, a 6-pound kicker is virtually just really non-existent that time of year,
Yep.
which is okay. It just, your 40-pound bag is, you're going to catch some 5s, you're going to catch a bunch of cookie cutter 4 somethings,
Your winner-
and you're going to have a 6 something if that's
Your winning
gonna go
bag
down,
will
it
have
seems like.
6 cookie cutter 4.5s.
And then 2
Some
6.
5s and 6s.
And
Two big
2
ones.
5 1/4 to 5.5s, maybe 3 of that caliber. I mean, I think what your goal is going to be is go catch that 32-pound bag, get your 4-pound average, then go slaunch hunting.
I mean, wind and bug hatch to me are really big
Yeah.
factors
Right.
that time of year. Mille Lacs, you always have wind. If you have a ton of wind, that can heat up a staging bite, but it makes it really difficult to fish spawners.
Sure.
When you have no wind, it makes some stagers harder to catch, but them spawners easier to target.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then a bug hatch, calm weather.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really tough fishing out there for
Oh,
numbers.
that's what.
Yep.
Oh, I love that bite out there.
I do too, but you're gonna see and put your lure in front of a lot more than you catch on those days. It
Sure.
seems like. But
Yep.
anyway.
But June
Go ahead.
June 25th, the Champions Tour Pro-Am event. You are going to get paired with a high school marshal as your co-angler. We're going some old school. We're kind of, like the old Silverados. You guys are going to fish together as a team. Get to work together for an 8-fish limit. It is going to be the catch, weigh, release
Love
format.
8 fish too.
Using the real Livewell app and the Apple cull for you. And but you guys get to go fish as a team for your 8-fish combined bag.
So when I was getting into the sport, I fished the Silverados as an am, and I guess that was such a good experience for me. A lot of those tournaments, I maybe didn't even necessarily learn what to do. You maybe got paired with a good angler that had a bad day, made the wrong decisions. But what I learned, you learn what not to do, you learn what to do, you make great connections, and I think it's super good for the sport that you guys are doing that.
Well, you got to fish it last year.
I did, and it was a blast last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with your, degenerate son. I'm just kidding. Always a great dude. No, but
Well, I would, some days I'd agree with you on that.
well, I was impressed with that kid, and honestly, we get paired with marshals usually, and some of those kids are awesome, right? And
Yep.
I know they're dying to fish all day, so that's like what's cool
That's
about
this.
the pro.
This is what it's really about. It's about the opportunity to give back to these kids that are donating their time to be your marshals for the Champions Tour. Get them fishing. It all goes back to teaching them how to fish, getting them into the sport, teaching what you can. But this event, not only is that what it's all about, this event is now based on 75 boats. It's going to be a $17,000 for first place.
Dude, that's got to be the biggest, besides the boat for the championship. That's the biggest payout in the state.
It's
and let's
a
just,
big deal.
Just so everyone knows, this is open to all anglers. So
Correct.
our Champions Tour anglers are fishing it, but it is open to the public. So
I heard Nathan Whiting's not allowed to fish.
there are no rules.
That is the stipulation.
Oh no, there are rules.
Well, yes, no rules on who can enter.
But
But
Nathan, come fish
yeah,
it.
yeah. So
Yeah, we're at like 60-ish now,
Yep.
and 100 is the. So
Yep.
there's plenty of room.
Hundreds the
Jump in.
limit, but based at 75 pros.
Yep.
It will be a $17,000 first place.
100% payout.
100. Yep. And are we paying our 30% of the field?
I believe 20%.
20%.
Yep.
And then of course the amateurs will have their own payout.
Yep. Amateurs entry is $100.
Yep.
And they have to be a Champions Tour boat official.
Yep.
And priority is given to those boat officials that are marshaling for 3 events, and then down to 2, and then lastly to fill spots. If
Yep.
you boat official 1, you'd be able to get in. So,
Yep.
Do you guys do a combine for boat officials this year? Like, make sure you're getting the best ones.
I would love to do that.
They're
Sick. You should
Paul-
do
That would be
a
so much
marshal's
fun.
combine.
And actually, I don't want to do a combine.
Yeah,
I
this
would
kid's
just-
40 times a little slow. I don't know.
I would just
all they
love
have to do in their 40 times is beat Paul.
Yeah.
They're in.
Yeah, you're
Put them in.
Yeah, you're in.
But, yeah, so if any anglers or AMs are interested in signing up, go to classicbass.com. Under the top, there's a Champions Tour drop-down. Both entry forms are there. Sign up. But, yeah, it's going out of Isaides, who is under brand new ownership now.
Yeah, please.
And they are very excited to host us. So, yeah, it's going to be a great event. We had a great time at Whitefish last year, and we learned a lot. So that's why we're doing the event not on the back end of a tour event, so our tour anglers can focus and enjoy and fish well at both events instead of trying to split their mental power over 2 events.
Wow, I think that's a wonderful idea, Glenn.
You're very welcome. But yeah, so no, that'd be, I think I mean, in that time of year, again, I think kind of stemming off what we were talking about, that will, I think, show a lot of mille lacs and techniques, because there are some offshore studs in there that are going to, do the forward-facing sonar deal, be looking at them on boulders. Joe Willard, Josh Douglas has entered. Yourself, that's kind of your gig.
Yeah, Dane. Dane's really good at that.
But then I think you're going to have guys that, like Jack said, are going to look shallow, look for some of that off-the-wall type stuff where
the topwater bike could go there.
Topwater, I mean,
shot.
it's going to play interesting. So,
it'll be a good event. A fun time of year up there. I love it. I mean, it can be tricky for sure, but it's one of my favorite times to fish. Besides pre-spawn, of course, but that's everyone's favorite time to fish. It'll be cool. I mean, there'll be a lot going on, assuming we get some decent weather conditions. Yeah. That's a big assumption, but should be good. I mean, a lot of fish catches.
I'm excited for the event just because I think it brings back a lot of history of tournament fishing in Minnesota. I see the Silverado Tour hat up there that I'm very jealous of. But, brings back a lot of history for that format and all the great memories back then. And it's given back to these kids and getting them out there and stuff. But then it's a standalone event that we're putting on that anybody can enter. Now, granted, tour anglers get priority, but we've got plenty of open spots. So anybody that can get in to come fish a tour type event, and the payout's going to be just absolutely tremendous. And the maybe prizes, of course, as well. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think it really, this will be our second year doing it, but I really think it's going to turn into one of those. That's one event of the year I need to get into.
Yep.
So,
Can I get on my soapbox just for a second? I have
Did
something
you get
I'd like
off?
to get off my
Did
chest.
you get off it?
I think I've been doing a good job.
You're always
listening
keeping a toe on it, but that's go ahead, please.
So, it doesn't make any sense to me why you guys struggle for marshals. And I want to rant a little bit about this because as an angler, that frustrates me a little bit, especially with the level of participation that we're seeing in high school fishing, because to me, what you can learn if with the right attitude, sitting with some of these anglers, whether it's learning what to do, what not to do, learning how they make decisions, time on the water is everything, whether you're casting or not, okay? And you have the chance to get into a boat with a guy who's been fishing tournaments for maybe over 5 years, typically. And some of these guys, I mean, how long's Capper been fishing? How long's Moyna been fishing? How long's Life? I mean, as a kid, I kill to get in a boat with those guys, So every opportunity I could.
It comes down to a couple things. And
Paul, you guys pay them to do it. They should be paying an entry fee to learn.
The hardest part, and Paul will attest to this with kids, and my son's 8 and just kind of get into the activity thing. Kids today have more opportunities in every aspect of their life to be involved than before.
But I think we should first say our struggles to find marshals are not like they used to be. I think we're in much better shape. But exactly, I think Glenn is exactly right, is you have kids that eat, breathe, and want to fish, and they're begging mom and dad to come do this, but mom and dad got to get them. But a lot of people have lives.
Yep.
There's sports, there's fishing, there's this, there's that, there's vacations, and there is travel time for the parents to get these kids. So I'm blaming the parents for this. No, I am just kidding. I am not blaming
Paul
the parents.
Neumann, Neumann.
No, I am not blaming the parents, but I mean, in all honesty, I mean, bass fishing the Bass Galaxy is not all there is in life.
No, there is more to life. I'm just saying, public service announcement, if you're an aspiring young angler that wants to be better, marshal the dang Champions Tour, and you can't tell me there's only 65 of those kids that want to be better. That's what I'm saying.
No, you are absolutely right.
This is a public service recruitment announcement.
Yeah, and
to all kids who like to bass fish.
Jimmy Bell from the SAO puts it all together for us, and I think there's been times where we've struggled, and going to some more distant locations makes it sometimes challenging, but I think a lot of our issues are in the past now. I think we're doing much better on that.
I think you're right, dude. It is the parents' fault. Like, you can basically boil like most of life's problems down to bad parenting.
I mean, not everybody's kids just
you
live
feed
in
your
a bass
kid with a
boat
spoon
like
forever,
mine.
he's probably not going to want to go freaking find his own.
Well, all he's got is driver's license this year, so
That's
I may
scary.
not even be able to get him to come marshal because he's just going to take off and go fishing.
You pretend that you're hard on him.
I never pretend I'm hard on him.
Who are you harder on, your son or Tyler?
My stepson, Tyler. I am way harder on my redheaded stepson, Tyler. Yes, who is the social media guy for the Champions Tour, by the way. Yes.
So media coverage for this
Yeah.
Pro-Am, I guess, is it going to be any different than regular Champs Tour or anything that we should expect for?
Nope. So
different
we
there?
will have here early March
Yeah,
will be the Pro-Am video from last year on Whitefish. So that'll be very exciting. You know, none of us have seen it yet. Adam's been working hard on that to put together a production that's similar but different than the normal tour productions because
It's probably going to be pretty good. It's almost been a year.
Supreme Lurico introduces a revolution in bass fishing with our triumphant trio, the Supreme Slug, Lil Slug, and Slaw. Leading the charge is the Supreme Slug, a legend revived after 2 decades. Its unique shape and built-in hook slot redefine tactical brilliance on the water, giving you an edge like never before. But the saga continues with the Lil Slug, a miniature powerhouse that mirrors the majesty of the Supreme Slug. Don't let its size fool you. It packs the punch needed to lure in those elusive bass. And for the ultimate bass feast, there's the Slaw, a craw representation with the same irresistible characteristics as the Supreme Slug. It's bass seduction at its finest, designed to trigger predatory instincts. Exclusively crafted for bass enthusiasts, Supreme Lurico brings you a trio that's not just baits, they're bass magnets. Supreme Lurico, cast in gold, reel in glory.
Do you trailer your big outboard? Then you need the MyWedge motor support. MyWedge keeps even the heaviest motors safe and secure on the trailer. And talk about easy. Up with the motor, on with the MyWedge, back down, ready to roll. And MyWedge is built to last. It won't rot, it won't split, it won't fail. Guaranteed. Pop on MyWedge centering clips for lateral stability and you're good to go. MyWedge, security in a snap. To order yours, go to mywedge.com.
Sorry, Bart.
Do you have where's the rim shot button?
Boom.
Thank you.
Star Wars 3 coming soon. Okay.
So no, I mean that's the great thing is that these kids that fish last year on Whitefish are going to get to see that, you know, taking that experience again. But then, you know, for Pro-Am coming up this year, same thing. They'll, you know, these kids, that's their opportunity to shine. You know, in front of the camera, fish, get that opportunity. If they're, you know, wanting, you know, like you said, if they're an aspiring angler and want to, you know, are, you know, looking at colleges or, you know, just fishing tournaments, like that's a great way to get some exposure. So no, that'll be another good video production that we do this year.
That'll be sweet.
Yeah.
Is this thing saltwater proof?
One way to find out, you go to waypointanglersupply.com, use the code GALAXY20, get 2 tungsten ammo boxes. You bring one down south, you keep one up here.
The problem
in case salt doesn't like
This
it.
thing is going to exceed my weight limit on the airplane for
What
my luggage.
does saltwater like? There's nothing that does well in saltwater.
From what you told me, you just hose off everything and you're fine.
I feel pretty good down in saltwater. I do well down
I
there.
think if you keep this box shut and don't let salt get into it, I think it'd
that
be fine.
doesn't happen.
Okay. I don't know. It was designed for fresh. This
is cool.
Did Dane do anything to any of them rods he made you to make them more saltable?
So
saltable.
Our fearless leader, Mr. Scott Bonema, calls me at 6 a.m. one day. He's like, you know what? I was up at 4 a.m.
Hall of Famer now, by the way.
HOF.
That's right.
We
Yes.
just call him HOF.
Yes.
I was thinking about
Yeah.
it earlier. I didn't want to interrupt somebody, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And by the way, Scott, huge congratulations.
Yep. Congrats,
to the
Scott.
Minnesota Fishing Hall of Fame. That is absolutely tremendous honor. We're all proud of you.
well-deserved.
Well deserved.
Yep.
But anyway, I'm going to go back to him waking me up. He calls me at 6 a.m. He's like, you know, I woke up at 4. I was thinking about this. We need some really cool custom rods for saltwater fishing. I'm like, all right. What are you thinking? All right, I'm excited here. You know, what are we thinking? He goes, go to Dane. Take your chicken stick and see if we can turn that. Like, we're going to turn that into a spinning rod. and we're gonna, I want the best titanium guides, saltwater proof, good handles. I think that'll be a perfect snook redfish rod. So that was his vision. So I called up Dane, and Dane. Oh yeah, we can do that, and it's gonna be beautiful and pretty. Sure enough, it's just
Everything.
It's a work of art. And so we had Dane build up some rods for us, and we took the chicken stick blank, which is just a great deal down there.
Give me a little backstory on that, because you had a little bit to do with that chicken blank, and I've grown quite fond of it. I didn't lose a single bass on that blank last year.
Rod. I
so
love
thank
that
you,
rod.
Paul. Thank you, Dane. But give me the backstory on that deal.
That rod came together because I was looking for a very specific action for throwing the chicken, and kind of the same deal as what Scott wanted with the saltwater deal. And this is the true beauty of Dane and custom rods, is that if there's something that you really, really, really want, they're going to be able to do that for you. And so I went to Dane with that chicken rod, and I basically said, here's what I want. Here's how I need it to act. Here's how I need it to behave. It was just through my fishing the chicken as much as I have, I was looking for a very, very, very specific deal. And Dane knew exactly when I described everything as far as the balance of the rod, the action in the tip, where I wanted the bend and the backbone in the rod to be for being a very technique-specific rod. That's the whole point. I mean, this thing is just exactly. There's only one lure I'm ever having tied up on it, and he knocked it out of the park, and now it's the chicken stick. Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy you say that, because I catch some fish on it, and I threw it a bunch last year, and I don't think there was a fish that I caught, even smallmouth, where the jig head was like where the thread was, their teeth were nicking the thread. Like the thread was always behind their teeth.
And that's
so
the sensitivity level. And actually, to be honest with you, that rod, the chicken stick, is absolutely unbelievably phenomenal. If I were to do it over again, I may actually try to dull the sensitivity down slightly, but that's just a personal thing. But the whole intent of that is to allow, it's kind of like the old David Fritz deep cranking deal. The whole intent of it is to allow that fish to really inhale that bait. And when you go to set the hook, I need some strength to get that big jig and all that hair would drive a hook into them, but I don't want to rip it out of their mouth and tear it away from them too fast.
I like the sensitivity on that, because you can feel the grass. You can feel,
yes,
that's what I like,
yes.
versus like a straight glass rod, you know? It's almost like I can feel how much, when you're ripping it, you can feel how much that jig is buried.
That is a benefit to it. Actually, I based what I told Dane to build, what I based that off of, I was using a glass rod. But it was a cheaper production glass rod, and all the components suck. So that's kind of how this whole evolution of that, wanting him to do something, was kind of like Scott. I want something really nice and really built well for salt. And I did the same thing with the chicken rod. I had the absolute best rod that I felt for me for throwing that bait, but I wanted top-notch guides, top-notch handles. I wanted to lighten it up. I wanted to balance it out a little bit. And that's kind of how that rod was born.
Because it's a really good swim bait rod too. Like, swim bait and chicken are the two things. Like, so if you're throwing an open hook swim bait, let's say, anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 of an ounce, it's the same thing. Yeah. And a swim jig, it seems like, for whatever reason,
I throw a swim jig on it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
See, I had issues. Okay. I like a little stiffer rod for a swim jig.
Yeah, but you don't
more fast.
But you don't cut your chicken sticks down to 7/4.
That's fair. But that's the beauty of working with Dane.
Secret.
It's not. I never lost a single bass, Paul.
How many bass did you lose throwing a swim jig on it?
What is your overall vertical height? Okay, we're going to nip this in the butt right now.
I'm shrinking. I'm probably below 5'9".
So you're shorter than me.
Okay.
By more than 2 inches.
I'm shorter than most people.
By more than 2 inches, right?
Yeah.
Yet your rod's only 2 inches shorter. So technically, I should probably be throwing a 7/8.
No.
That's a lot of math.
We're not.
Rough math.
I'm confused.
This is not a measuring contest between you and I?
No, you were telling me that I was having an issue and I never lost a bass. So I don't know why.
But you don't like it as a swim jig rod.
Ah, that makes sense. So you're saying the 7/4. That would make sense if you cut 2 inches off the tip. Why it'd be a better swim jig rod?
Cut it off the other end.
See, then it's not then it's not going the right way, man.
This is so much fun
Going
getting
the
into your
wrong
head
way.
because see, Aaron Teal truly believes
The best
that
part is he thinks he's in my
1
head.
inch, a 3/4 of an inch, or an 1/8 of an inch is
I
such
don't
a
think
dramatic secret difference.
I don't think it is.
Oh no, you're freaking out right now. I guarantee you, Dane, he's going to be calling you shortly saying, dude, cut me a chicken stick in 7.4. Newman's up to something. I got to see it.
You are freaking out, man.
Yeah. No, anyway, so go back to the saltwater deal. Dane builds some just absolutely beautifully gorgeous saltwater rods for Scott and I. Scott had the idea that blank would be phenomenal. So when we're down there, these guys are going to come down here in a week or so, which we're super excited about, but we're going to go chase a bunch of snooks and tarpon and whatnot. But we're pitching jig and minnow, basically. It's great. The old jig and minnow trick up in these mangroves for these snook and redfish and whatnot. And, you know, spinning rod with the drag and stuff is really important, but also when you're literally trying to flip wood and pitch undercut type stuff, when you're doing it with a jig and minnow, you need to be real gentle with it, so spinning rod's a big deal. But then when you hook into something, you need to be able to bolt your feet to the ground and hang on and get it out, and that blank just lends itself perfect for that. The tip is super soft.
It's very parabolic.
Exactly, just so, but in the lightness and the weight and the balance in it to be able to, you know, just underhand pitching and getting that jig and minnow up in there. You know, granted, they're big minnows, they're pilchards. I mean, they look like a shad.
But why that action in saltwater? You know, that's like what turns out to be a really good moving bait rod in freshwater. Turns out to be just a really good saltwater rod. Is it the moderateness or the parabolicness of it combined with the backbone?
Yeah, it's
Because them fish, do they run? I know they're strong and they
you
run.
put
You know,
think of pitching a jig and you get a largemouth that just twink, and then you just need a lot of power to set the hook, and then just the drag's locked.
Yep.
You know, and just winch them into the boat flip them.
Yep.
Down there, you may not feel the bite. You might just lift up, and it's dead weight swimming, and you don't need to drill them and set the hook like we're used to flipping and whatnot. You can just load up on them. But
Because
then
you're
it's
using like more of a circle hook, right?
well, you could be using a knocker rig, which is egg
boy.
sinker and a hook.
The knocker rig.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, everything that I do know about this, Scott and Mark Kortz taught me everything. I still need to venture out and learn some of my own. But no, actually, I love Z-Man makes this trout eye jig head. It looks like a walleye jig or whatever, but it's got a pretty stout hook in it.
Yep.
But we just pitch them up and eat. But when you load up on one, it's pretty much just lock. You need the drag to run because you cannot lock the drag. You're going to break stuff. I mean, these are a total different beast, and it's pretty much just hang on. Kind of let them do what they need to do, but then there's times where you need to really kind of turn them, get them coming a certain way. But the parabolicness and, like you said, that softer tip, I mean, especially I call them the fun-sized tarpon, you know, like the 30-inchers. You stick one of those, and it's an aerobatic, just it's a blast.
Cool.
They're just jumping and leaping, and you need some rod that'll not tear the bait out of their mouth and stuff. But no, Dane did a beautiful job. I ordered 6, and he's wrapping up 4 more to ship down to us.
So what's funny about that is Mark Raveling.
Yeah,
He's in Texas, and he's got, I think, 4 or 5 of that rod now.
yeah,
he does all bait casters.
He's doing bait caster, yeah.
So it's funny,
Yeah.
yeah. You go to Florida, Bonema and Newman are rocking the chicken rod on a spinning pole.
Yeah.
You go to Texas, spinning poles apparently aren't allowed in Texas because Mark Raveling has his brakes dialed in and he's skipping them pilchards. I don't even know if there's mangroves in Texas though, so
I don't
that's
think
maybe
so.
part of it.
Yeah.
Is it's more. But even then, I was just curious.
I
As
would
to
like
why
to do it
no
on
bait caster.
I would like to do it on a bait caster, but at least like a lot of these snook and a lot of stuff, I mean, just a good smooth drag is huge.
Yeah.
But I definitely know, just to be real gentle with that minnow, it's much easier to pitch them with a spinning rod. You can be much more gentler with it and just kind of float it in there.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, you're not skipping. A jig and minnow. So, but it's a hoot.
Well, I mean, I remember one of the early conversations we had about fishing rods.
Mm-hmm.
And that chicken rod, I don't think there's anybody, you don't realize how special it is until you hook something with
Right,
it. Because
right.
when it loads up on
Yeah.
a fish, it's like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
But
Dane built that rod, and on my 3rd cast with it, I stuck a 7-pounder on Chickamauga, and I set the hook, and I'm like, 3rd cast I ever made with the rod, set the hook, and I'm like, yep, it's perfect. Then she jumped, and I saw her, yeah.
Al dente.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, that's it. This thing's perfect. Yep.
But I remember some of the early talks we had about rods, and I remember watching some of the Silverado footage of people throwing jerkbaits, like back in the 90s,
I know what
right?
you're talking about.
Of like
I
Long Lake up in Wisconsin.
I should have brought
like
that rod.
The
in.
6-foot pool
Like,
cue.
I have a 6'2" pool cue.
husky jerking it up, you know.
It's because nobody
Smith wicking it up.
Nobody built a jerkbait that had action. So
you had to
needed
create the action.
Oh yeah, and I had to literally change Berkeley Vanish. Was like the only fluorocarbon option we had. I'd have to change my line halfway through the day because that Vanish, after pounding that jerkbait on that stiff pool cue, that line would turn into a rubber band. You could just feel it. You go bang, bang, and then it's like boing, boing. Like, up, new line.
In the 80s, if you wanted a good jerkbait rod, the guy would take his flipping stick, bust it over
Yeah.
its leg, tie a jerkbait
Because
on
nobody
it, and
made
go.
But then Lucky Crafts made it to America, the Lucky Craft pointer, and that was once that bait came out, I could put the 6'2" pool cue away.
Well, they say the first documented UFOs that landed, like with Roswell, was in the 40s. So you figure, you know, that's what probably brought us like the OG Husky jerks and Smithwicks. And it probably wasn't until, you know, the 60s.
Smithwick
JFK actually got, like, I heard part of the reason why he was assassinated is because he made a deal for some Lucky Crafts that were still locked in Area 51, and they didn't come out until whenever they did.
them
That
lucky.
was a declassification from the government.
Right. Okay.
And the Japanese, for whatever reason, they get their hands on it first,
I think they invented it. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. No, that Lucky Craft pointer, boy, did that revolutionize.
You're like, my rod's too stiff.
There's not very many smallmouth. Nobody's caught too many smallmouth on that bait. Whoa.
I guess, do you guys remember? So what makes me think of that is you telling them stories about the St. Jude. And
Yeah,
I
they
think
like that thing on the
it's
river.
such a cool tournament because it's got such a famed story with it. It's got such a rich history of like bass fishermen doing good in the world, which is great. And always on the river, always in the spring unless the river's too high. How long is the St. Jude technically? Like, when do we know what year the first St. Jude's was?
1999.
99. Okay.
Long time ago.
So this is
the turn of the century.
How old were you?
Oh, I would have been 6.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, this will be our 26th year this year.
Holy smokes.
Yep, 26th.
Wow. So the St. Jude's been going on longer than the average marriage, for sure.
Yeah.
And is there any one single tournament that is still going on that was going on in 99? Is that the only tournament?
Minnetonka
that's
Bass
still-
Classic.
Classic Tonka Classic is like
Tonka
40
Classic.
years or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But
Okay.
to your point, it's
Yeah.
it's been going on
Yeah.
a long time.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Very big deal.
I mean, the amount of money raised is insane.
Total raised 6.8 million
That's over
over the course.
So
holy
that
smokes.
St. Jude's, that event started to obviously do some good and get involved with an organization and to do some good and raise some money for St. Jude's. It also started to, let's start a fun event in the spring before bass season opens that we can go
Right.
fish.
Right.
Yep.
So it turned into, you know, it started out as, hey, let's do something. Let's do something fun. Let's, you know, start this, you know, working with St. Jude's and whatnot and raising money for them. And it kind of went from there.
Yep.
Do we know who? So, like, I know 30 years from now, I guarantee you we're going to look back and we're going to thank Scott Bonema for starting, you know, the Champions Tour. We're going to look back and kind of like Bassmaster looks back at
Ray Scott.
Ray Scott. You know what I mean? Do we remember who kind of started the St. Jude and how that
Dick Hiley.
collaboration- Dick Hiley.
Well, Dick
okay.
Hiley was in there. He was one of the
Scott.
anglers. I think Frank Pillsbury was a big part of starting that. Frank hosted the event and stuff and ran that. It was kind of a committee of people that got together. Scott Bonema, Rick Peltier,
Sure.
you know, but Frank really was the one that got that thing going.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to come back and fish it last year. It's the first time I fished it in quite a long time, and man, is it it's a completely different event from what it was in the beginning, in a good way, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you fish the first, like in '99? Did
You know,
fish that one?
my memory's fuzzy. George Little and I fished them together, and I don't think we fished the first year, but then I think we fished it after that for like 10 or 12 years until I became a farmer and needed to plant corn in the middle of the tournament. So I'm mad at the St. Jude's. I want them to move it to the fall permanently.
Sure. Because as a kid, there was always a nostalgia for it. The guy who gave me that Silverado hat is a mentor of mine, Nick Gross. He's actually my neighbor. But him and Glenn would fish the St. Jude. And, I would, hear stories and kind of live vicariously through that. And then, you get older and you hear about, other people fishing it. But it seems just like a really cool event for a really good cause. Jack, I know you fish it. Have you two fished it together at all? Or
Nope.
No.
Because who do you fish it with?
I fish with a good buddy, Tim Peterzane. We go way back. We hunt and fish together, and just a good fishing partner. So that he's kind of he's my locked in teammate for that. And Glenn and I stay at our boss's place is actually right on the river down there, so we make a fun week of it and have a little bass camp going, and it's a good deal.
How do you pronounce that last name?
Who's that?
Timmy's.
Tim Peterzane.
Okay, so he's German. Do you ever say Alvita Peterzane?
I like that. I don't even know if that is German. It probably is. But he's a musky guy. He's a big.
Timmy's the best hype man out there.
Yeah, he's a big musky guy. He's the positive mental attitude guy.
Patty. I like positive patties.
No, he's an awesome tournament partner for sure.
And the thing with the St. Jude is it's all expect the unexpected, because the weather, you always think it's like, oh, it's gonna be great.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it turns crappy. I mean, one of the years Nick and I fished it, the water temp on Wednesday pre-fishing was like 46 degrees. And then come that Thursday, Friday, a blizzard hit southeast Minnesota, western Wisconsin. I am pre-fishing. Nick and I are pre-fishing in a legit blizzard. The deck of my boat has 10 inches of snow in it. We couldn't even get out of our boss's driveway for about 3 hours that morning because there was so much snow that pulling a boat and truck, we were just sliding because it's just gravel.
Oh, he was probably yelling at you too because you had to scrape the whole car off.
Probably. But, so then that water temp on day one of the tournament was down to 38 degrees. So you lost about 10 degrees of water. And then we've had high water.
Courts and I fished one of those high water years.
When
we had to walk the planks.
We had to. So I've been on the tournament committee since 2009 or 10, and that year of the high water, it was so high we moved it up to the upper boatland or marina in the Wabasha Harbor, and like Paul said, the Zumbro Valley Bassmasters, who's does kind of all the weigh-in and kind of the manpower for the event, they fabricated a walkway system out of shipping pallets and 2x4s. And so you're walking from your boats parked in, like pulling up into grass and flooded just junk, and you're walking your bag of fish over 2x4s and pallets to get
the best that year was launching. You roll into town to Wabasha up on the hill. Hop out, unbuckle the boat, put the drain plug in, partner gets in the boat, and then they're guiding you down, and you got to drive now like 4 blocks down the hill, and now you're just driving through, the water,
through parking lot.
The water's not quite coming through the doors of the truck yet.
Yeah, it's close.
And then here in the dark is John Steers and another guy in chest waders. And the water is right about to go over the top of the chest waders, and they're standing right where the top 2 corners of the boat ramp are.
Yep.
So you have to back down between them.
That's
and
your
literally,
guide.
You back down, and they're got flashlights. There's 2 dudes in waders, and you're in a lake. Water, fortunately, is not coming through the doors of the truck yet. And you literally back up, and that trailer would go down about a 1/4 inch, and the boat would float off.
Yep.
That was a riot. It was...
Yeah.
The good old river.
It is so cool down there. That is just
awesome.
My favorite place in the world to go fishing because, like Glenn said, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, it's like life, dude, and what's great about it is it's the perfect place to raise money for them kids because they didn't see that coming. They didn't see the water rising and all of a sudden their life changing before their eyes,
Yeah.
And what's crazy about this tournament, it's the only tournament I'm aware of that rewards fundraising with boat draw, which river... Boat draw can make a difference. You told me about 2 St. Jude's that you won on 5 casts. Now, nobody else maybe found that, But now, I mean, there's a lot less secrets on the river now where boat draw can play a factor to the point where, you know, you've got guys who are very into this. They've been fishing this for 15 years, and top 5 boat draw is very important to
It
them.
is.
And that's a good incentive, not only for the angler, but it's an even better incentive for the children of
Yeah,
St.
so
Jude.
day 1 boat draw is based on your fundraising total. The top 10 fundraisers are locked into place each day. So the top 10 fundraisers are boat 1 through 10 day 1, boat 1 through 10 day 2. Then after that on day 2 it goes to your finish on day 1. So it does help with boat draw on day 1. Day 2, because it is still a fishing tournament, the results do play into that for your boat draw on day 2.
Except for top 10?
Except for the top 10. So that's kind of your carrot. Like that is
the genius of the deal, though, Glenn. Because when George and I fished, this program wasn't going on. But the genius I've seen from this is it's competitive bass fishermen. It's the river.
Competitive fundraising.
The river changes every year, so I think it's not like Minnetonka. Every day you go to Minnetonka is it going to be sunny or cloudy.
Yep.
It's always the same. The river's always different, so I think the maybe the starting spot aspect or whatever being the variability.
Well, they
down
don't spray
there.
grass on the river, not to argue with you.
Yeah,
No.
Don't get me on
Mother
that
Nature.
soapbox.
They could stop doing that.
Mother Nature just
Don't
ripped
get
it
me
out.
on that soapbox. But no, the top 10 are having boat number 1. I don't necessarily think it's that. It's a big deal down there. But you take a bunch of guys like us, and I have the ability to earn boat number 1. It's a whole nother tournament. I'm going to beat you guys.
So
the competition of just it's awesome.
So back
It's fun.
before COVID, so Jack never got to experience this because his first year was COVID year, which ended up getting canceled. So
I've been the roller coaster guy since I started fishing the St. Jude. Maybe it was me that screwed everything up.
So back before that, on Friday night at Slippery's, so I did this. I probably did this about 7 years. At Slippery's, you do the rules meeting, and so you fundraise, starting in January, February, and up to that Friday, you'd have to have all when you would check in at Slippery's, this was back, when most people would fundraise with checks, cash, and then kind of at the end, then there was the online component. But so you'd go into Slippery's, hand in whatever checks. The St. Jude staff would tabulate it. They do the rules meeting. Then all of a sudden on the PowerPoint projector, they put it up on the screen. They'd have the tentative boat draw. Then they would do the buy-up period. There are several anglers. One fishes the Champions Tour. This is what they're made for.
One of them owns the Champions Tour.
Scott was always up there. There's another Champions Tour angler.
Great fundraiser.
There was another,
and
him and his partner, I vividly remember that the buy-up, they are just salivating because they're looking at it and they're...
Would the initials be DC?
Possibly. And they're just drooling. They're like, the strategy comes into it.
Yeah.
So they're looking like, okay, right now we're boat 12 and we want to get in the top 10. So they're seeing what they needed to buy up to get into that top 10. But what you don't know is what boats 11, 10, 9 are doing. So it was a game. So that was the first couple years. And I mean, I'd be sitting there and it was frantic. So we've done away with that just because.
Oh, we need to bring that back.
But the problem is now everything's online, so there's no mystery anymore.
Well, I mean, I'm
way to kill
looking
all
at-
the fun.
I know.
Way to
We
kill
had
the fun.
$6.8 million for a 26-year total. I don't think they need to because 2023.
Last year was-
million.
Last
1
year was
million.
A
special.
million.
That shows the trajectory of the thing.
Yes.
Like it's just
So it's been growth.
It is, and to Paul's point, it's that it's that competitive aspect that all anglers have in them to fundraise.
It's a tournament within a tournament.
It is, and what I think is still the coolest thing is that $1 million raised last year was done in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
You did it from anglers just every day making a social media post. Hey, my partner and I are fishing the St. Jude. Can you support? $5. That's all it takes. Then you have guys, Jamie Gibson and Lonnie. I'm trying iPod.
Peterson?
Yeah. Peterson, yeah. Jamie Gibson, Lonnie Peterson. They raised $150,000.
Yeah.
$150,000 last year. They do an event. So there are some anglers that do events, like, you have a dinner,
Yep.
you do raffles, auctions, stuff like that. Then you have anglers that are still traditional and go door to door, send out mailers to family. I do autographed jersey auctions.
noticed that.
So
Yeah,
like
that's cool.
every angler has their own niche. Some anglers work in the trades and have very good relationships with their coworkers, with their their trades partners, and it's that world is a very, you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah.
That's how that works. So that's the cool thing. That $1 million raised and that $6.8 million raised has all come from different facets, and none of it comes from events and all these. When St. Jude or any charitable organization raises money, I mean, we always hear, this gala for this charity, this golf outing for that charity.
Gala.
Exactly. None of these. I can guarantee you that probably of the 150 to 200 anglers that sit down or that are competing in the St. Jude, probably many of them don't own a tux, have ever been to a gala.
That's a guarantee.
I mean, and if they own a tux, it's probably been a one-time thing. So
If you've been there, don't you get to call it a gala?
maybe.
If you haven't been to one, you call it a gala.
I don't know.
I think
Just I'm asking.
As anglers, we develop special bonds with our equipment. There's something magical when you find that perfect jig rod and reel combo for a technique that elevates your confidence on the water. Whether it's a perfectly balanced, crisp, and sensitive jig rod that gives you the highest level of control over your bait, allows you to feel every grain of sand, every bite, and allows you to drive that hook clean, or a rod with the perfect action and taper that seems to keep your chatterbait, swim bait, or whatever it is in the back of the bass's head where it belongs no matter where you throw it, or a rod that allows you to effortlessly cast a lighter bait you used to cuss at on your old combo. These types of magical bonds are rare to find in a mass-produced sweatshop, which is why Veselka Fishing and Customs came to existence, with the sole purpose of bringing you closer to your passion by enhancing the bond with you, your rod, and the bass. Confidence is everything in bass fishing, and there's no bigger boner buster than losing a big fish, not feeling like you can present your bait correctly. The list goes on and on. Mr. Veselka is a full-blown artesian craftsman who can build you the perfect rod, no matter the size or action, custom, exactly the way you want it. He also has a wide variety to choose from right on his website, including fan favorites like the 8-foot hair jig rod, the drop shot rod, swim bait rod, the chatter chicken rod, the MH workhorse, and more. Even ice fishing. You do the whole frozen Swiss cheese thing, the ice fishing. Seen grumpy old men? Well, you can send that jiggle stick back to the antique store because Mr. Veselka builds custom ice rods in all sizes and actions too. So head on over to his website, veselkafishing.com. That's VOCELKA fishing.com to enhance your confidence on the water, feel your passion, and catch more bass, baby.
The two, to me, they're kind of one and the same, but the two things I think everyone should know about St. Jude is, one, let's be honest, for people that haven't fished it or maybe don't want to fish it or whatever it is, the daunting task of fundraising, that's the hurdle. Like, that's what they see. And I think what everyone should know is that, one, it's not difficult. So you have to raise $500 to get into the tournament. You got your entry fee, then you have to fundraise at least $500. One, that's really not difficult.
No.
There's a million different ways to do it. And you're raising money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, which people are more than willing to donate to that cause, So one, it's not hard. It shouldn't be, you shouldn't see it as, like I say, daunting or intimidating. Like, even just asking friends and family straight up to their face, you're probably going to get there to get into the tournament.
Well, if you're born after 86, you probably maybe don't know this, right? But it's also a tax break. Right?
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
So you might as well benefit some children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Save some
Absolutely.
taxes.
Absolutely.
No brainer.
But yeah, number one, it's not that hard. Number two, I think another thing that kind of along these same lines, if you raise $501, you're into the tournament, but you also don't be like ashamed of that. I think some people they have a little block of like, well, I can get into tournament, I can get $500, but I'm probably only going to get $500-$600, and I'm going to look like a failure. I can't compare to $150,000 from and don't think that way, because every dollar counts.
Mm-hmm.
Like we want more and more anglers. We want the thing to fill up, and if those are $500 to $800, that's more than where we have if you're not there at all.
Do you know how many
right?
kids you just fed with $800?
It's easy, and also if you're not raising
We're
thousands
saving
and
their
thousands of
lives,
dollars,
not feeding them. And
Well, I'm
we're
sure
feeding
there's
them.
there's a kitchen there, isn't there?
Yeah. So I think for that's a great point. So the funds that St. Jude raises, the overall, to put it in very simple terms, is if a family has a child that gets cancer and goes to St. Jude, they never receive a bill.
Yep.
Oh,
So you get your treatment covered, you get your lodging covered, you get your food covered, you get, when you're living down in Memphis at the hospital, everything is covered. All that family needs to focus on is taking care of their son or daughter, giving them love, support, and getting them through the darkest of darkest.
couldn't be a better cause. I mean, there's no arguing
there's
that.
nothing more stressful than like those kind of medical bills.
Correct.
Yeah.
And now you've got a kid that you just brought into this
Right.
world, and
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
dude, that is, I mean,
But just don't let those
Exactly.
that factor. And I mean, honestly, like a perfect example, like what I've fished it 5 years now, and like before that, I wanted to fish it or thought about fishing it, and I thought, I don't really want to fundraise, or I don't know if I could do that.
it's intimidating.
It's in your head. Let's be honest, like
Yep.
it totally is. It's a factor, like whether you like it or not. And what I've learned, I guess, is again, it's pretty simple. Don't let it intimidate you. Don't be ashamed if you don't raise as much as the next guy, because it all counts. Every dollar
Yeah.
counts. If you have any desire to fish the tournament, to whatever your fundraising involvement level, wherever you see that falling, just get in the tournament, fish it, because the second you do, you're like, I'm never gonna miss one. They're fine, as long as I can do it.
It's a blast. Don't be scared of the river either,
Yeah.
because it is so
in so
fun.
many ways.
It is
so many ways,
fun.
it's a
so
great week.
beautiful.
The
so
fishing's
fun.
incredible. It's the river. There's
Yeah.
you can do anything you want down there. It's a fun time of year. It's a great event. I mean, the event has a community feel to it.
does.
It's a great group of people that so many of them have been there for such a long time, and like just to kind of start to be a little part of that, like it's. You got to do it if you have any desire to fish a tournament on the river in the spring. Just do it, and you won't be sorry. Like it's a great week.
It is. And so what's cool is based on your fundraising, you can earn more money. So your base level entry is $500.
Yep.
If you fundraise $1,500, you're bumped up a payout level.
Oh.
If you fundraise $5,000, you're bumped up a third tier.
Yeah.
So if you win the event and you fundraise $500, you win $5,000. If you win and you fundraise $1,500, you get $7,500. If you fundraise and win, or if you fundraise $5,000 and win, you get $25,000.
It is, and again, stipulation that you have to get that, but it's
Yes.
the highest paid tournament in the state.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is.
$25,000. Yeah, sorry, Pro-Am. That's the
right.
most. That's
It
the
is.
highest
Yep.
paying
Yep.
if you fundraise.
Yes.
Yep.
If
And I
if
know,
you're- if you win in your bottom,
right.
you
And
know,
I keep-
you
I'll
probably
go-
fundraise good amount.
I'll go back to my soapbox on fundraising, but so again, like Tim and I, we haven't been doing it forever. Like some guys, we're 5 years in. Not the greatest fundraisers in the world, I'll be honest, but we get to 5,000 pretty easily every year, and we would qualify for that. So I say 500 is easy. 5,000 isn't that difficult either. Like, I mean, I know that's the benchmark to get your full payout if you happen to win the thing.
I'd like to discuss some of your, tournament fundraising techniques. Like,
Yeah, so
we
I
talk
mean,
about tournament techniques. I mean,
Yeah.
what are some fundraising
Actually,
techniques?
I think the big question is:
Glenn's
is it
got
a
a good one.
finesse tactic, or is it? Are you winding
You power fishing,
Power
or
fishing,
bail open or
fundraising.
closed?
Glenn's got a gold mine with the jerseys. That's an
Yeah.
awesome cause.
Genius.
It just keeps spreading across, and he has the biggest names out there in terms of these signed jerseys, and it's become a known thing, and through BAS, MLF, all those guys, which is awesome. I think Tim and I.
That's
maybe,
a power move. That's
Yeah.
baitcaster in hand.
Tim and I probably
maybe even
represent
braid.
the
Even braid.
Yeah. We probably represent the little more like typical everyday guy in terms of this stuff, and a lot of it is literally just asking friends and family, like I say, face to face.
Throwing the Senko.
Yep, there you go. Provide your link, and they can just go right there and do it all online. Posting to social media is an easy one. It maybe doesn't work quite as well as it used to. I'm sure something with the algorithm and all that fun stuff, but you can do that. And then Tim and I, for example, and Tim still does, and both used to do a lot of muskie fishing. We know a lot of guys in that world. And we have a great bait maker out of Wisconsin build us a couple of, pretty unique muskie fishing topwaters.
That's cool.
That are hard to find. And we auction those off. And, those two baits alone raise a few grand.
Wood lathe baits?
Yep. So we do that.
The old pacemakers?
Yeah. We'll auction off a rod or,
Not your
whatever
everyday
it is.
Suic.
Yeah. So there's a million things.
the original
That's even
glide
more
bait.
dead than a husky jerk.
The
That's
original
Suic.
glide bait, the Suic.
Yep.
You ever
But-
fish a Suic?
No, I have
Do you know
not.
what one
Oh
is?
my
I
God.
do.
Okay.
It has like a little metal tail right on it.
It's
It's
got
the
all-
original glide bait.
There will never be a bait that you pick up that
Is more
compares
dumb.
to that.
Yeah.
Where you're like, fish eat this? Yeah. It's the best musky bait ever invented.
It's a
Like,
diving 2x4.
It's the glider.
it goes like, ugh.
It's the glider.
Dumb. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I think that's pretty much it there. But just again, don't be intimidated by the other factors that outside of your normal fishing tournament, 'cause it's not a big deal. And once you get there, again, it's the highest paying tournament in the state. It is.
And just remember, there's a lot of guilt involved with not helping kids. So, guilt could be a strong technique.
Guilt is a motivator.
Yeah. And then, at the end of the day, there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat.
There is. Yep. And it's not that difficult. And and in the fishing side, it's a very well run tournament. I think some of that becomes a little forgotten from outsiders, but it's run as good as any tournament that I've fished.
They have
it's
the
a great
best
stage. It's
guy that blasts the boats off in the
He is
morning
into
I have
it.
ever seen. This
he's
dude
into
is,
it. It gets you hyped.
I forgot about him, and it's been a number of years since I fished it. And I go to blast off this year, so this guy lines up on the rocks at Wabasha Marina, and he's got this stance. I can't even do it.
There's knee bend.
Yeah, he's in.
Bear claws
Get
lodged, two at a time.
No, he's got his pointer finger out and he's watching you, and then he's like, and he just winds the arm up and go. Yeah. This guy, and I forgot about him, and I'm sitting there going to blast off, and Ollie
NASCAR guy.
Ollie fished with me, and all of a sudden I looked and I watched him do it to the boat in front of us. I'm like, oh yeah, Ollie, I forgot about this guy. You got to see this, and he winds up and gives us the go, and Ollie just is like, nice.
Yep. It's
That
awesome.
guy is awesome.
The other thing too, I think, and honestly,
I'm not doing that on the Champions Tour this year.
I think that's...
Dang it!
I think,
That's your job.
Maybe
I
I
mean-
can hire him.
I'll be honest, you're really setting the bar high here.
Oh, this guy's. You got to come to the St. You got to come fish the St. Jude's to experience this guy. I'm telling you, it's awesome. Awesome. And it's for the kids.
If Newman looked a little less pissed off on tournament day, you could be that guy.
It's because I had to deal with you guys and all your questions the night before. Can I do this? Can I do that? Blah, 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 blah. Is this too gray? Is this against... Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm sure that can be
No,
a little,
no denying.
be a little daunting.
I mean, I have, in today's experience...
I don't want to do your job.
Today's experience preparing for this
Or
show...
yours.
I have a new rule that if you show me something that if I can use it as a lure, if the ingredients and what's in there are not written in English, if it's only Japanese, it's not allowed.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of stuff in this room that's all Japanese written on it, and I can't
Just
tell
take
you if
just
is
take it out and put it in a Ziploc.
Is
bag.
it
So
pork
Good.
fat?
So
Is it-
I'm not trying to be a dick right now, but there's
Kinda
this thing on your phone.
trying,
now,
not trying?
Okay, there's this thing on your phone. You scan the package with your camera. phone Rosetta Stones that shit for you right there.
Why does it have to be my job to scan everything? Why don't you just do
I'll
it
scan
for
it
me?
for you if that's
right.
what you need. Like, happy to.
Now you know why I'm grumpy every day. I'm getting grumpy right now.
Starts banning other languages.
You have
like,
a-
and
you have a
I
flight
feel
to-
like that should never be. You should never like.
That can't be good.
Yeah, man. Just because a guy's like.
You have a flight to Florida? Learn Japanese.
There's Netflix
actually a
and
good
stuff.
point.
I got my stories I have to catch up on.
But yeah, so if anyone wants to fish this thing, Jude, sure, Aaron will post the link. Sign up. We'd love to have you in Wabasha here in
It's a
a
blast.
couple months. To be
I'm really mad
some
I
of the
can't
most
fish
fun
this
you've
year.
had. Most
You know what
fun
else
you've
is
had
cool
fishing
about the
event.
St. Jude is it's one of, I know there's a couple out there, maybe some championships, whatever. It's one of, your standard Minnesota tournament angler. It's one of your rare chances to fish a 2-day event.
Correct.
Yep.
Which is
Yeah.
a
Good
whole
point.
nother game,
That's a
and
good
it's a
point.
hell of a lot of fun. Like,
Good
it
point.
changes everything. You guys know, obviously. You got to prepare differently. You got to think about things during day one, etc. And we don't get to do a ton of that, to be
No.
honest with you. And one, you get to fish for 2 days. Two, it's just a whole nother strategy, different things you got to think about and manage, and really cool wrinkle.
Well, a lot of people we keep saying that river can be intimidating, right? But if you want to be a tournament angler in the state of Minnesota, especially if you want to be a tournament angler beyond Minnesota,
Oh, yeah.
river is
Yep.
100% what you need to know. Along
get
with
out-
multi-day events. If
Right.
you want to fish outside this state, you got to learn how to fish
Yep.
multi-day events. So,
Yep.
no brainer.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's intimidating, but you learn the most when you put yourself in some of those uncomfortable situations.
And
Maybe you get your butt kicked the first year, but you can't.
The cool
you
thing
can't win
about
the
there-
third year till you go and do it.
No matter how much you get your butt kicked there, you walk out of there like, this place is awesome.
Dude.
Because it's so cool. If you've
Yep.
never been there, it's just so cool. I brought Ollie down. He'd never seen it before, and he was like, 10 minutes on the water, he's like, now I know why you said this is your favorite place.
It is
to
my-
go.
I mean,
This is so cool.
And it's a tournament. You're pre-fishing hard. You're fishing hard in the tournament. Obviously, you've got the St. Jude aspect and the fundraising. Aside from all that, it is my favorite fishing trip of the year.
Yep.
Just to go fishing.
Yep.
It 100% is. 3-4 days of pre-fish, couple days of it's the greatest. That's my favorite place to fish in the world for sure.
And I mean, most people lose a lot of tournaments, right? I lose a lot of tournaments. We lose a lot of tournaments, but how many tournaments?
Noah Schultz doesn't.
I knew most people aren't him listening, right? So it's like, how many tournaments do you lose where at the end of the day you can drive on your drive home where you're upset about losing, you can look in the mirror and say,
I can't wait
man,
to go back.
I helped a bunch of I helped
Totally.
I helped a bunch of people out. I did a
Exactly.
good thing losing this tournament. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus when you're not, all you have to look at on that drive home is all the mistakes you made.
Yeah. Yep.
And,
I know my
and guess what? You didn't feed yourself or any kids.
Yeah.
My perspective changed on that event huge because when I used to fish it, I didn't have kids. Now I do, and looking at
That's
it,
big.
it's like, heave crying type stuff. Now
Yeah,
once you have
100%.
kids, it's
100%. Yep.
I'm gonna grab a water quick, but I want to talk a little bit about like the dominators of that event because it's got a rich history. I know we've got one guy in here who's won it back to back, and I'm looking on this list, and it's almost like
I want to do my picks.
I'm gonna
for
grab
this
a
year's
water.
event.
But it's interesting looking at Glenn's list how many different people have won the event, and there's no clear cut like
Yeah.
Noah Schultz, so to speak, on the
Yeah.
list
Yep.
where there's a majority.
Yep.
It's anyway. I'll be right
Let's
back.
get water.
Anybody need a water? Your rods are gonna beat you to Florida.
They are.
Yeah.
That's why I sent them to the boss's house.
Motor
cute.
Ooh, what do
motor
we got there?
Custom. So I was asking Glenn if you knew about the slug deal because it was
Do
discontinued.
you really the slug deal, dude? I'm really old. I know about the slug deal.
I know. That's
yeah,
why.
and these guys brought them back. I love it.
Yeah. And so they're being hand poured in Minnesota now.
Yeah.
But they made this
Do
one's
you know
called
the slug
They,
deal?
they asked me if I was like, dude, can you make me a color? They're like, yeah. They're like, what do you want it to be called? I said,
Teal.
Motor Oil Galaxy.
Oh!
I like it.
So that's Motor Oil Galaxy, Motor Oil Blue
Why is
Flight.
this
That
called
fits it,
Bubba
too.
Gum?
Because he just gives me the extra bags because I buy them
Because you're cheap.
Because I don't care. That's my bag. Put them in any bag you want. Just make sure this is in them.
You need to make one that says whatever you call it, Watermelon Galaxy or whatever, and just have it for the right here on the bench.
I can't show everybody. No, I
about
figured
the
you'd appreciate the slug.
Once, So, one of my old best friends in the world, who I started fishing tournaments with, we started fishing on Tonka. I was 16. Comes down to the boat. He's got 2 spin poles, 6-footers, medium actions, and brown.
At the old steel ones?
Brown paper lunch sack.
Okay.
I'm like, that's all you got? Look inside the brown bag. There's a little package about this big in there, and it's got 10 3/16-ounce hand-poured from Wayzata Bait and Tackle mushroom heads on 1/0 gummies. I mean, we're talking back in 1992. These guys were like the pinnacle of custom-made lures, okay?
Gopher? Was that Gopher?
No, Wayzata Bait and Tackle, built in the back bait room by the bait tanks. Yep.
Same thing, though. I mean, that's what that turned into, basically.
But
Mushroom head.
Well,
jigworm
Gopher,
head.
Gopher was making them, but I mean, it was your Eagle Claw or whatever. I mean, these were just, pretty gummies. And then he had 100 pack of black power worms in there. That's it. And that guy won a lot of money on that lake. He rivaled Mr. Moyna.
So it was like a power worm was kind of like the early jigworm, right? Then you had like a Senko slug kind of came later type of thing.
Jigworm's a jigworm, a Nedrig's a jigworm.
Yep, I agree.
I will fight to the death.
Culprit, right? That was kind of first.
I agree. So the
Wait.
jigworm's now evolved into what they now call a Nedrig.
You want to know where it
was
started?
a curly tail worm
It
first.
started in the 70s, the old slider with the cream scoundrel worm on it.
Well, I'm sure it started in
The old
50s
slider
in Japan,
head.
but
The old slider head. The old slider head with the my old man would throw the old slider head with a 4-inch purple worm with a hot pink curly tail on a Mr. Twister. Yeah, back in the 70s, early 80s on Minnetonka. Oh, yeah. No, the jigworm has evolved. I mean, it came from the slider, went to a jigworm with a 7-inch, 6-inch power worm, whatever. It's the BASS Top 100s came here, and then next thing you know, the shaky head worm was huge everywhere in the world. And then now the Nedrig, and you put a Senko on it, a slug on it. I don't care if it's an exposed head, exposed hook, mushroom head. It's a jigworm. I'll fight to the death on that one.
I won't fight you on that.
Yeah.
But back to St. Jude.
St. Jude's.
So I'm looking at this list, and you must have won in 02 and 03. Because I only see you on here 03.
Must have
And
been
that's
02,
as far as that's as far back as this list goes. So we
Yeah.
apologize to the 1999 through 2001 winner, being that you were the 2002 winner.
I'm sure. Yeah, that must be right. I don't know my memories. I'm getting old. My memories.
So you won
fizzy.
2 of them. I'm seeing Brett Hames won 2 times, and Matt Larson.
Yep.
Corey Hauk and Brian Harmon have won it twice. They won it back to back.
3 times.
They won it
3 times.
3 in a row.
Okay.
Oh God.
So I think, that's the one.
And then Scott Pelgrin and Willert won it twice.
Okay. So you've won it. You and George have won it twice. Pellegrin and Willard have won it twice. Hames and Larson have won it twice.
Pat Martin won it twice, once with Dean and once with Ted.
Pat Mart. Okay. And then
Hall and LaRock have won it twice.
oh, crazy.
A lot of
A lot of
doubles in there.
repeats. A lot
Yeah.
of repeats.
Yeah, but only unless we're missing some data here. I think how can Harmon have the most St. Jude wins?
They do,
I believe.
Must be.
as far as we know. Yeah.
Yep.
Heck,
in
and
the
those
least amount of time.
No, and those guys, they probably won one of the early ones that aren't listed too, so they might be 4-timers.
Could be, yeah, because 2018, 2020, and 2021, they,
Yep.
I mean, dominant.
Yep.
And I've talked to Corey Hauk, I know, and I think the low water last couple of years, I think, is
Well-
what he attributed, and then largemouth being, I guess, it more dominant than in past.
Well,
I
to
think.
talk recent history, and I mean, again, I can talk to it because it's my St. Jude career. the first year that we signed up was obviously supposed to be a spring event. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think I remember this, but supposed to be a spring event 2019.
Yep.
Canceled due to flooding. Completely canceled.
Correct.
No
'Cause
no reschedule. So
Correct.
it didn't occur in 2019.
Yep.
Spring 2020 rolls around, COVID hits.
Correct.
So 2020 event gets
Starting off with a bang there.
Yeah, I know. 0 for 2. 0 for 2.
Wow.
Never going to fish this thing.
Yeah.
2020, they're like, okay, we got to have it. So
Yep.
they moved it to September. So
Yep.
my first St. Jude was a September event.
Yep.
You turn around the next year into 21, it's back to spring. 22 is spring. Then now we hit this year, 23, flooding again, gets moved to October. So
Let's
to your
leave
point,
it in
to your
October.
point, what Corey's saying, I mean, it's been all over the map in the last, call it 5 years in terms of time of year. And even within those 2 spring events that we have had, 2021 was very low. I mean, we almost had no runoff, no rain. It was low water.
Yep, that's right.
The next year rolls around and it wasn't crazy high, but it was normal. spring river.
Yep.
So just the last 4, 5 events, one of them being canceled. The last 4 have been as irregular as you could get, even for the river. I mean, it's just been all over the map.
That's the definition of the river.
Yeah.
Irregular.
The one I didn't mention that I feel like could be on there twice somewhere is Ronigan and Jim Johnson.
Yeah.
Those guys are
They had
pretty...
the day 1 lead this year.
Yep.
Okay. So
So
they're
they were-
always up there,
Yes.
aren't they?
Yep.
Because you got guys who maybe aren't on this list, like Drazel, I think, always does pretty
Yeah.
good.
Cody does real well.
Um,
I think
like-
he got 3rd this year, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, Pat Martin and Capra, they're always,
Yep.
you know,
They do.
up
Yep.
there. You cash a lot of checks.
Yep. Do
and-
decent.
Yep.
Jack's done well. but
Jack's doing
on a
real
roll.
well. Jack's
we've
on
had a
roll.
good little run. So
Jack's my sneaky pick for this year's winner.
Yeah, 2021. I mean, obviously easier said than done, but we should have won that year. We really should have. We got second to Hawk and Harmon
Yeah,
by
sucks-
8 ounces.
Sucks to suck.
And we had the mother load, and the fishing was super tough. Weights were down, like it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't going well, and just not even pre-fishing during the tournament. We found them, and we should have won that year.
Wow.
But
You're
that's the way
due.
she goes.
You're due. You're gonna get one.
I had Cade Laufenberg out here last Saturday, and awesome talk.
Nice.
And that dude's a guy I really look up to when it comes to river fishing. He's proven himself, down there. And I know him and Seth took second
Yeah.
in a
Yep.
St. Jude,
Yep.
and it was cool talking to him. And I think when you talk to those guys who live down there, right, and they truly there's good river fishermen, and then there's river rats who are immersed in it, and it was really cool hearing his perspective on how he looks at water level, but also we have that water level app that tells us the water levels.
That's the flow.
It's both.
Well,
There's
yeah,
2
that-
measurements,
correct,
right? And
correct.
it's funny because I've never totally thought about that, or and how he looks at both water level and flow speed, and how that dictates what the fish are doing. And the guys who are really good on the river, I feel like are 3 steps ahead of everybody else on anticipating
100%.
Totally.
those decisions and whatnot. And I geek out on that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking at all the competition that's in this event, I mean, does it fish small? That was a question I had, because the springtime you can get a little everything's going one direction, or for the most part.
I don't feel that it does.
I
I
mean,
mean, sure, there's key
I
areas.
think it can fish small, but that's a by choice matter, maybe, because the
Main
cool-
channel stuff, maybe,
Well, it's
marinas.
it's a matter of
Pickle Factory gets a little
I mean,
busy.
the thing is, you got 2 pools. Number 1,
Yes, your high risk, high reward.
you got
deal.
2 pools. You've got smallmouth and largemouth.
Yep.
So there's just so much going on. It's spring. The water level's crazy. Again, getting back to the river being so variable. But again, you got a ton of water with the 2 pools and guys locking through, and however
And
you
it's
manage
who
that.
wants to gamble going through the lock.
Yeah.
Barge traffic's a factor.
Yep.
Getting home.
Yep.
In the spring, barge traffic is the worst. The fall tournament, the barge traffic wasn't too bad, but in the spring, barge traffic is a nightmare because the river just opened.
Yep.
They're bringing fertilizer up, and the grain elevators can finally load up and ship it back. So barges are at a max flow in the spring. So
I didn't think about the agricultural transportation aspect of that.
that's why that river
That's
was.
why you brought him here
yeah.
for
That's
that.
why
that's
those
why we
pools
brought 'em.
were built.
That's what
Paul
we
That's
Neumann.
and that's why you
He's a
brought
good
me.
American
I mean,
farmer.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I mean, at least in recent years, I'm sure there's sometimes when, maybe you're talking some of the backwater stuff that's just going or whatever, but it doesn't seem like it's been super tight the last handful of years.
You
but
can win from the top of Red Wing
that's
to the bottom of Pool 5.
100%. Yeah.
You can. So I guess, do we know, is it one out of 4 more than 5, or one or the other? Does it seem like if smallmouth win, it's out of 4, largemouth out of 5,
It's all over the map.
All
It's hard
over.
to say.
There's
It depends on
looking
the
at
year.
that winner list, there's largemouth winners, there's smallmouth winners, there's pool 4 winners, there's pool 5.
Was Hames in 5 this year?
I
I
believe.
don't know. I
Yeah,
saw him
I
in
think.
4, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
It seems like, I mean, again, it's hard to pinpoint because it's been at different times of the year so much lately, but it seems like in recent years it's been a bit of a mixed bag that's kind of done it. A few big smallies, and then
it was all smallmouth back in my day for the most part.
Right.
No,
It seems like it's become
mixed
more
or all
mixed. And then
smallmouth.
if I remember right, it seemed like there was a stretch of years like before I was fishing when Willert won, and maybe one of the Hawk and Harmons, like it was pre-spawn smallies, like they were catching the big smallies and that dominated. And now it's kind of maybe circled back to a little bit of a mixed bag, but it's totally just year dependent and water levels and all that.
Day dependent. Like that's the thing is you could get on the best bite on the river and it could be all gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So anticipating where the bite's going can be challenging because it can happen in an hour.
Yeah.
So they're spawning now.
It can happen in 5 minutes when they decide to mess. They did that this year. They I hadn't been there for years and years and years, and had literally 2 days of practice. Ollie and I went down, and what are you gonna do? Let's just go check some old school stuff. And it's like, they're here. This is dumb. Everywhere we went to, the fish were everywhere. Then first day of the tournament, the water was literally only about 3 inches lower, and the current slightly slower. Done. They were gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, you really had to look with a fine-tooth comb and really be paying attention. I wasn't looking at the flow charts and all that kind of stuff, but just eyeballing some of the stuff we were fishing that the water had changed, but it was very minuscule. But those fish, I mean, because Ollie and I had 2 days of practice, and actually the second day of practice, it was so dumb.
It's been confirmed. Aliens from another planet have landed on Earth. Sources say there's been 2 confirmed landing points for these extraterrestrial beings, one being Japan, and also, unexpectedly, in Minnesota at Waypoint Angler Supply, a local tackle shop on Lake Minnetonka. With the ever-expanding universe, it's no surprise that there are other planets out there that also share our love for the sport of bass fishing. And to Earth's surprise, this latest visit came from extraterrestrial fishermen light years away and many innovations ahead when it comes to fishing equipment. Some hypothesize these beings came from the planet of Naboo, matching up with Mayan folklore dating back thousands of years with fishing equipment ahead of their time. It has been confirmed they left things never seen before by an Earth-born bass. Waypoint Angler Supply is the premier space station in the bass galaxy and has tackle that could previously only be found in Japan or the planet of Naboo. The Waypoint ship is full, but we don't know when the Bastronauts from Naboo will be back. So hurry in to Waypoint Angler Supply today and stock up on that Area 51 Planet of Naboo JDM good before your buddy is whooping that sweet ass of yours. Stop into their store on Lake Minnetonka or visit their website, waypointanglersupply.com. That's waypointanglersupply.com. Use the code GALAXY0124 to save 20% on your next tackle binge.
Everything we went to, you couldn't even shake them off. Ollie was yelling at me. I had like 4-pound largemouths just ripping the rod out of my arms, and I'm pointing at it. I'm like, Ollie, he won't let go, and he's mad at me. Dad, quit catching our fish. It was so much fun, but then tournament days, there was such a slight change. It was all done. Yeah. I mean, we didn't do very good in the tournament.
That fall,
we had a ball, but it changed that quick.
Yeah. Well, like that fall 2020 event, Jack's first year, day one, I was in second with 21 pounds, just under 21 of smallmouth behind Pat and Dean. And then day two, our smallmouth didn't go, and we dropped to like 12th or something, like 15th. So, I mean, it can change.
Was the weather getting better?
That was a fall event.
Okay.
No, weather stayed the same, just current or
The only thing I can figure, you guys fish the river down there so much more than I do now, but the only thing I could figure this year was that the water was so low and there was no current all year. But it seemed like in October, late September, we got a bunch of rain.
We did.
The water came up, the water sped up, and the fish that we were catching in practice were right where you would want them to be, right in the current. They were, but then but my only thought was, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I always try to figure out where I screwed up. Looking back at it, I start to feel like that these fish were probably craving to get back on those spots for so long, and they finally had an opportunity to, and those couple of days they were going. But then when the water started to make a shift to go back to the way it was, I think they're like, damn it, and went back to whatever they were doing before. That's my theory.
We didn't. It started cooling off that week. Remember, like
Yeah.
before we had a warm fall, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's gonna be fall. It's gonna be just your normal river smash fest. in the
We were
fall.
wearing insulated gear for the Derby. I
and then
know.
it got cold, but it
Yeah.
didn't get cold soon enough. So that water temps were still hot.
It was
Yeah.
still 70 degrees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Even after the crappy weather on
yeah.
Friday.
It didn't drop fast. Those
So I
temps.
hopped into Cade's flat bottom this past weekend, and the first thing I noticed on his front deck is he had a popper. We were river fishing, and it's February. And I was like, "Is that a popper?" He's like, "Yeah, I got one spot I want to throw it on." I was like, "Okay." He didn't catch one on it, but he got a blow up on a top
Wow.
water
Yeah.
Oh, I believe
in
it.
February.
Yeah.
I
I was
believe
like,
it.
so those river fish are built.
They're a different.
I mean, they're
yeah,
different
they're a different
breed.
deal.
Yeah.
You know, and to go back
They're pissed off teenagers.
to go back on what you guys were talking about, you know, if you want to become a more well-rounded angler, travel the country, this and that. If you think about it, Minnesota has lakes. The rest of the bass fishing world, it might be called a lake, but it's a river.
Yeah.
The rest of the world,
It's a man-made lake.
until you get to Florida,
They pull current.
until you
Manually.
get to Florida, you
Human
get back.
adjusted current body of water.
You get back. Basically, you got Minnesota, everything else in the middle. Then you get Florida, and they're similar. But everything in the middle is a river. If it looks like a lake, it's still a river. It's still controlled by a dam, and they're pulling current to generate power. And that is a whole nother beast. And learning how to be a good river fisherman, and with the locks and dams on the Mississippi River, and pulling water and not pulling water, is going to prepare you for the bulk of the rest of the country for bass fishing better than anything else we got in Minnesota.
It's a, I would say it's a beginner's version of a tidal fishery. You know
Oh,
what
that's
I mean?
a whole.
No, it's current. Tidal fisheries
Tidal-
are current that
it's-
changes based on tides.
Don't even get me started. That is a whole different ball of wax. Now we got the angle of the moon and when it's Oh, sorry,
You're sensitive today.
I'm
touchy.
I'm wrestling with learning tides better down in Florida, and the minute I think I got it figured out, it's like, all right, it's going to be just right over here, and it's going to be there, and I get there, and it's totally opposite what I thought. And it's like,
You know what I think Paul could use?
can't figure this out.
A spa day. You look like you
Yeah.
need a back massage or something.
Tuesday night when I'm going to be sitting on the back patio enjoying my spa day in Florida.
Stacy,
There you go.
No pressure.
Jeez.
Yep. Sorry, I'm bitter on. I haven't quite figured the whole tide thing out. And it's
No,
it's
I'm not
actually-
saying I did.
Tides are
but
actually easy because
it's
you get these
understanding
little-
current, water fluctuation, and movement.
You get these
Level
little
and flow.
cool little apps on your phone that tell
Tell
you
you
what
what
the
the tide
tide's gonna
is.
be here and here. But
Moving water, Paul.
well, no, but when I
Moving
have
water.
a tide chart, a tide buoy here, and 50 miles away, I have another tide buoy.
Yep.
Trying to figure out what those two are telling me. What's that going to mean 25 miles in the middle? That's where I struggle.
Well, same with river fishing. You know, water level's rising. Is the current going to increase or decrease? Well, it depends what the other dam's doing, Paul. You know, when did they start pulling?
But the river, the water only flows one direction.
Not always.
It goes downstream.
Until it hits a wing dam and it angles.
You're still
but it
going
continues to go
downstream.
downstream.
The tide
I
goes
get you.
in, and then it goes back.
Okay. I'm
not
and then
saying-
it goes back and forth.
I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying it's a beginner version. The tidal thing is more advanced, to be clear. It's not on the same level. Okay?
It's- yeah.
Higher IQ, lower IQ. Okay? That's what I meant. Okay? I know
You
it
telling
fired
my
you up a
IQ
bit.
isn't high enough to figure the tide thing out yet?
I'm
Because
telling
I'm
you mine's
believing
not.
you.
I'm
If
telling
you're
you
telling
mine's
me that,
not.
I believe you because
But
I'm not.
How can you can't if you could learn a river, it sets you up better to learn a tidal fishery
Yes.
than just showing up to a tidal
well,
fishery.
you're gonna know.
That's what I meant by that.
You're gonna know how fish position in current.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's a beginning stage of
different,
that.
but
It's
it's
the middle
same.
schools
Yeah.
of, the senior and high school
Yeah.
tidal fishery.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to upset you. And
No,
I think your spa day's coming.
You didn't upset me. I'm just struggling on figuring some stuff out.
You know what? I think a lot of times we get too frustrated about the little things in life, And I think
That's
that
not a little
there's a
thing in
greater
life.
purpose. Well, I'll be honest. Them children of St. Jude's, I don't think they care if you say Champs Tour or Champions Tour, for example. like we can fret about the little things in life, but there's a lot bigger problems and a lot more we could complain about. And I think we should just be grateful for what we have.
All right.
Okay.
I would agree.
Okay.
So I'd like to close this out today with each of us saying one thing that we're thankful for, because I think that's an important exercise, after what we just went through.
All right.
You start.
Who? Me start?
Yep.
I'm thankful for so much. I'm thankful that in 2 weeks when I get back to Florida, I've got a brand new Humminbird Apex that's going to tell me what the tides are doing that I went and bought because I can't figure out the tides. So I'm pretty thankful for that right now. I'm sorry.
That's what we call organic.
I'm thankful for Stacy Newman and her, I guess, willingness to give Paul a spa day.
Well, when she saw the credit card bill for the Apex, she was like, that damn thing better work. You better put me on fish.
Oh my!
I'm thankful for my family and be able to talk to you guys today about awesome fishing stuff. And
is this where we're going with the thankfulness? Did I miss the boat?
Yeah.
You definitely got a little materialistic on the thankfulness, but it's America, so it's to be expected.
Yeah. Yep.
Not from your generation.
You
though.
caught me at a weak moment.
Not from
all
a
right?
farmer. It's
Caught
my
me
new
at-
Apex. Glenn?
I would say, my health and family. I mean, because without that, my wife's supportive of all the time I'm away for fishing and
Great
Champions
answer.
Tour, and
Wow, you guys are really
buttering-
making
he's
me
buttering
feel
it up.
bad.
I'd like to thank my wife.
He's buttering it up. Nice.
Oh, it's great. Family first, right?
Yep.
Apex first.
But I am a fishing family. This
We
is
know your
all
priorities.
in
You've made them
benefit.
clear.
This is all to benefit my family and to improve their fishing success.
I'll be honest. Maybe that is putting family first.
I mean, did you
roundabout
not
way?
see
A
on
very
family with an
roundabout
Apex,
way.
Did you not-
family without an
Did you
Apex.
not see on Facebook yesterday my beautiful mother-in-law with a giant mutton snapper?
I didn't know who that
yeah.
was.
I guess I
That's
missed the
that's
mutton
grandma.
chop
That's my
snappers,
kid's
but
grandma. Yeah, that's my mother-in-law.
Look at you.
She took Joe Willard's high school pictures.
totally
she was-
redeems himself.
She was the
Where did that come from?
She was the big time high school senior
Wow.
photo picture
Okay.
photographer in Rice Lake. Yeah.
You know who one of my dream guests is now that we're talking about that?
Who?
Carol Martins, Aaron Martin's mom. I
Ooh.
really want, she's
That's a
like
good
a
one.
sleeper, dream
Yeah.
guest for me, because I heard she can catch them.
Oh yeah. Oh, Aaron learned
she's
it.
got the
Patton
mindset.
used to fish league night against her before Aaron started fishing. Isn't that cool?
I love it.
That's a cool story.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so, yeah. Anyway, your mom,
Mother-in-law.
she seems like a nice lady.
She's awesome.
Jack, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my wife and my daughter and this winter we're having, or lack thereof.
Oh, yeah, good call.
I'm thankful for, kind of like you said, just being able to spend a weekday talking fishing,
Yeah.
because we get to work in this world and,
Yep.
talk fishing, talk hunting, and have that be our profession to a degree in the marketing world. And
Yep.
it's a lot of fun.
I would agree.
That's what I got.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
God, I feel like a jerk right
Yeah.
now.
We kind of set you up for that.
I know you did, and I
We
fell
did.
for
We
it,
did
and
push
I
him.
knew that.
We did push him for organic sponsor plugs, though. So maybe that's
He
where he
messes
was.
with me so much all summer. This is like my one opportunity where I have some power.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I have some power and authority.
Yeah.
That I can mess with him a little bit.
I
too.
knew it was coming, so I graciously took the bait and fell for it.
I'm thankful for Riley Beats at Waypoint Angler Supply.
I haven't tried them yet, so maybe next year I'll be thankful for them.
Heck yeah, boys. Well, Glenn's got to pick up his kids, but did we have anything else we wanted to get off our chest today before we close this out?
No, I think the therapy session went well
Yeah.
for me.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm feeling better.
Looking
Good.
forward to the Champions Tour
Yes.
season. Sign up for the Pro-Am if you want to fish Mille Lacs in a big event.
Yep.
Sign up for the St. Jude if you want to join a really cool tournament. Fishing
And big event.
And a huge
Yes,
event.
huge
Huge
event.
Again,
I mean, the two biggest events in the state. We
Yes.
got a $17,000 first place payout
Well,
and
that's
a $25,000 first place payout
We're-
to you boys and gals who fundraise.
Yep.
we get to 100 boats in the Pro-Am. It's going to be bigger in 17.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We could get to 20, and we could make that a big deal.
You got a Livesay jersey coming?
Ooh,
I do not have a
I want a
Livesay.
Livesay jersey.
I've
If I'm gonna
tried,
get a
so
jersey, it's
I've
a
tried.
Livesay
that'd be a
jersey.
cool one.
I'm
Yeah.
trying.
It's
Why
okay.
don't you donate an Aaron Teal jersey to Glenn's cause?
Why don't you?
Because I want to
donate-
raise money.
You need to donate a signed
people
Paul
paying him to
Neumann
keep it.
khaki vest.
No,
Actually-
I was navy blue.
Okay, navy blue
That
with
was
a,
navy
maybe
blue.
a Stren patch or Trilene patch.
DuPont, I think is what they were.
Okay.
No.
What did you have on
I
there?
was not DuPont. I'm trying to remember. I did have actually before my vest. I had the
Do you still have the vest?
jacket, the Berkeley Trilene.
Yeah, that's
it
what
was
I'm
like the
thinking of.
members only jacket. Berkeley Trilene one. I had that.
That
Do you
needs
still
to
wear it?
That needs to find its way into the auction.
I would like to
But he
figure
might
out
not
where
give
that
it
is.
up.
It might
He
have
might
the
not
old
give it up.
Minnetonka Boatworks Pro Staff embroidered logo on it.
Or you can donate that to the Galaxy here.
Yeah.
Okay.
the wall.
You just
I would be willing to donate a patch vest to the Galaxy.
Glenn's kids are gonna really learn to fend for themselves because you made me
Ruh-roh.
think of.
boy.
So, I texted Fothergill and I was like, "Do you think they'd let you fish the Classic out of like a Bass Galaxy version of this if I put your sponsors
I
on
don't
it
wanna
too?
know.
Like old tournament suit, like onesie.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the straight up
Like,
Bill
Yeah,
Dance.
Rick Clun.
Yeah,
We might
So
need-
Fothergill said he couldn't fish the Classic out of it due to, he
Sponsor obligations.
with Bass because he made it through the
Yeah,
bracket,
yeah.
through college
Oh,
bracket.
sure.
But I think he's gonna, if I can get it done in time, he's gonna
Work for
fish
him.
the Leech Open in it.
You know what I
But
would like to
what
do?
I'm saying is maybe we need to offer like a vintage, like moon landing.
Let's get Rasmussen to wear the Tommy Martin shorts. Or the old Rick Clun shorts.
Yeah.
You fished a tournament in one of those, did you not?
Yeah. Fall tournaments.
That's right.
I got my grandpa's
That's
old
right.
snowsuit.
Oh, that's what I'm
yeah.
thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
So like I'll layer up in my blackfish and it's kind of like an overrobe for outdoor fishing. You know,
It's your
I'll put it
moo-moo?
over.
Is
all
it your
my-
moo-moo?
Yeah, dude.
Your house coat?
Yeah, it's my my snuggie. Or,
Oh.
you know? And that thing is gangster. It's yeah. So we need to bring the onesie back, old school tournament style. Glenn, do some auctions with him after.
Hey,
I
sure.
like it.
I think Dean Capra rocking a mustache and like a onesie for the St. Jude. Like, oh my God, I don't think it gets more nostalgic than that.
Yeah.
Oh, Dino.
No.
Dude, your kid's probably crying by now.
No,
I'm
we're
so
fine.
sorry. You were good?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we can wrap it up
He's
here.
he's giving you the pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Now, last question, then we'll close it out. So, okay, if you were to travel to a different planet, which planet would you choose and why? It's a tough one. It's a really tough one because we've only been taught about like 13, and there's at least billions.
I think
more.
we've only been taught about 9.
Which
Yeah,
one's
that's
got,
what it was because they
which-
erased Pluto. It was 10.
Which one's got the most
Oh.
lakes?
Mars had the most lakes that we know about, but it's dry now. So there's theories that because Mars, I think, is either closer to the sun or further away. I think it's the one closer to the sun.
Invention up, so what it goes.
Mercury.
Mercury's close.
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars.
Okay. So
Am I right?
I think so.
Sounds right.
I
Yeah.
think Elon,
And why are you setting me up for more failure and getting my basic astronomy wrong? And
'cause
being
like
laughed at on the
like
internet.
you watching a Squirmin' Champions tour, it's just too much fun.
I'm gonna
All right.
I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna
give you
say like
Glenn's going to go with Uranus.
I was waiting for it.
that's what I
I thought
That
that's what
was
we
the
were teeing
ultimate
him up
setup.
for.
That was the. I
I'm gonna
wasn't
go-
gonna
You
fall.
thought we were messing with you.
Thanks for falling on that sword, Jack.
I'm gonna go with the planet Endor where the Ewoks live.
Oh boy.
Oh, I love that. Yep, good reference.
I've always wanted a pet Ewok.
Ewok? Oh man, I feel like they'd be the perfect pet.
They would.
You can go get you things.
Me and one of my college roommates one night tried to find one on the internet.
Could he retie FG nuts for you with all those furry little
they could,
fingers?
They could
could.
live in your Rob locker and do all your
Oh,
stuff. Be like a little caddy in your Rob locker.
Do I have to make a new Champions Tour rule now? No Ewoks.
I think it'd just be a good,
No Ewoks. in
nice
the boat.
comic relief in the rules. They're not.
What
fun to
about
read.
what about Baby Yoda? Is Baby Yoda allowed?
Ooh. Yeah, I'll maybe have to go to
Forward-facing
committee on
sonar
that
you
one.
must use. What is that planet called?
Endor.
Endor. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, no Ewoks in the boat.
I'm gonna choose the planet of Ryugi because it is where some of the finest tungsten is made in the
Right.
galaxy.
Right,
So I'm gonna
right.
go with the planet Ryugi.
Okay. That's a planet?
It is.
Okay.
Tell me it's not. You know all of them? I guarantee there's one out there called Ryugi.
You can name it.
If you find it, you get to name it.
That's right. You can name a star, can't you?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Same as a planet.
Well, I mean, definitely less than habitable.
You probably did that
Turn to ash in 2 seconds.
for your like high school girlfriend or something. Named a star after.
Oh.
Embarrassing story just to help Paul out here.
Wait, what did
bit.
the certificate you gave her of the naming of that star? What did it look like?
No, I used to work at a movie theater when I was a kid.
Oh,
so I asked
boy.
my one girlfriend to prom on the movie theater screen.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So,
That's
you know,
pretty
a little bit of a premature play for a prom date. You know, like maybe start on the bottom of the
Maybe we
stairs and
should
work
do
your
it.
way up. I started at the top of the stairs and I'm like, this really wasn't worth
Maybe
it.
what we need to
Sorry
do
to my
is we
future
need
wife.
a Champions Tour gala the night before the championship.
Gala.
It's like the night of the champions. What do they do at the Classic?
Yeah.
Because everybody's
Oh,
wearing
dude,
all the
yeah.
guys fresh got out of their boats and they got the suits on and looking good, but yet it's just blaze orange from here down and then ghost white on the
I want to.
the-
What if you
forehead.
made us fish in tuxedos? That was a rule. Like, how good would we look?
It'd
You
be
know
a
what I mean?
Champions Tour
Fishing is-
tuxedo.
More importantly, I want to hear the Arnold Helgerson speech that goes with that.
Ooh,
night.
that
Oh,
night of
dude.
the champions.
Dude, yeah, the AOI speech.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe Ryugi could sponsor the night of the champions at the Champions Tour.
I mean, the people who carry Ryugi already are.
I know.
I'm going with Saturn.
Colonel
'Cause of the
Colonel
rings, 'cause of the
Colonel
rings.
would be full blown
Okay.
dress.
Yeah, that's my plan.
Lots of moons.
He did the one.
Moons,
I know.
rings. It's got it all.
Lots of moons. Okay.
Mars is too clean. Yeah, everybody wants to go
Yeah.
to Mars.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm over with. I'm over
I'm
Mars.
done with Mars.
Go
They've been
Britney
there in movies
Spears.
already.
Saturn. Saturn.
All right.
Cool.
Very creative. Real planet. Nice work.
Yeah.
Glenn and I
Endor is a
went
real
to
planet.
realms. We went to new realms.
Oh, what is this?
Do
Middle
you
Earth?
need us to like help you name some planets?
No, I don't.
But I know you know some astrology, but astrology
I
is.
do not need to be involved.
Are you concerned that this planet's going to get hit with a nice
I
asteroid? or-
am not worried one bit.
Okay, so you choose Earth. Is that?
I'm happy right where I'm at.
I think we said you couldn't choose Earth, but you know,
You didn't say I could do it.
you people,
I'm the
you always
tournament-
push the gray areas. Like day before the event, get calls. Get,
I
no wonder I'm so
am-
pissed off for these. No,
The tournament director.
you are, but I'm the tournament director for this question. No Earth allowed.
No Earth allowed.
No. And can't choose a moon. It's not a
Fine, since
planet.
everybody hates Mars, I'll go to Mars. I'll be there by myself and happy, and you leave me alone. You won't be there.
If you bring enough water with you, you can maybe fill in some of them craters that used to hold water.
And a bass.
Yep.
Two
and
of
then
them.
You can tell us what's there too.
Right?
Send us some moon rock from Mars. Harder than tungsten. Okay.
All right.
Glenn, go pick up your kids. Thanks,
Yep.
everybody. Checking in, checking out.